I think we're back. Let me know if that is correct in the chat box. Smoking hot here. I had a warning in the previous stream. Too much profanity. I suspect that included a manual action from somebody who was a little offended. If that was you, grow a pair. If indeed it was my later computer's self-combustion, then pay no heed. Pay no mind, hit the like button, subscribe and share. I'm TradesButton, and this is your daily update on GameStop, live person, and everything moving in the markets. We had a fax request come in from Moonlander just before that previous stream died, and he asks about the significance of the number of shares to borrow increasing, and if there's an inverted V-top on SPY. Thank you very much, Moonlander, for that request in the chat box. I'll get to that presently. Here's GameStop in the background, and I'm going to return to Rocky's discoveries from mining Larry Cheng's tweets. First up, to answer Moonlander's question, and of course we have a fax request section of the show coming up in half an hour. If you've got any questions, make sure to get them in using the links in the description below. So the question was about the significance of shares available on iBorrow moving from, I think the details were 8 million to 10.5 million. iBorrow provides data on the number of shares that are available to be borrowed for short selling purposes. An increase from 8 million to 10.5 million or thereabouts means that more shares are available to borrow, and typically this would indicate a higher supply of shares that traders can then short sell. Moonlander is well aware of this dynamic, but for those following along, you might find this interesting. This increase suggests that fewer investors are currently shorting the stock, having returned their shares, or that more shares have been available to lend or borrow by lenders. The implications are that it will impact short interest. A higher number of shares available might mean that recent short interest has decreased. That could be due to short sellers covering or closing their positions, hence the return of those shares to the borrow desk. The largest borrow desk in the world is at State Street. It was invented there while I worked there. Buying back shares to close out their shorts will increase the availability of shares to borrow and speaks to a general decline in bearish sentiment. So the more shares available to borrow is actually taken as a bullish implication for stocks, as opposed to counterintuitive thinking that would suggest less shares available to borrow, meaning a short squeeze is likely to happen. There's a borrowing cost then. That's what I'm speaking to with the short interest decreasing or increasing will also have implications for this dynamic. More shares available to borrow means that the borrow rate or the fee rate for short-in stocks would decrease, which means it lowers borrowing costs and makes short selling more attractive to certain types of traders. You'd also have to be aware of market sentiment, Moonlander. An increase in available shares reflects a shift in market sentiment, especially a large increase percentage-wise. So if investors believe that a stock price is more likely to rise over the short term, they would be less inclined to hold on to short positions, which would then lead to more shares being available to borrow, and then that borrow rate decreasing. Borrow rate decreasing, making it more attractive for short sellers, and this is the dynamic of how the lending desk works. So market sentiment is boosted by, and it speaks to market sentiment to see an increase, especially a significant percentage increase in the shares available to borrow listed on iBorrow. The second part of Moonlander's question was about V-tops in technical analysis, specifically inverted V-tops, talking about SPY. The term inverted V-top describes a price pattern where the stock's price has risen sharply, formed a peak, and then declined sharply, which creates a shape resembling an upside down V. Other people might call this an inverse V top or a spike top, and typically you would see this when price experiences a rapid ascent, because then what goes up must come down, and sometimes they travel at similar pace. Alongside that inverted top, especially as the peak is put in and price starts to decrease as this rate of change in price increases, you'd want to confirm that with a spike in volume. This would add confirmation to the idea of a potential price reversal. If we're speaking about it as a reversal signal, then you would look for that type of pattern, a V-top at the top of prices, to talk about how overall sentiment has changed from bullish to bearish. So a reversal signal that speaks to the potential for continuation. Identifying these means you need to be aware of that sharp move to the top side in price, and equally understand that downward move and confirm it with the volume patterns. Ensure that the peak is accompanied then by high trading volume. That's how you confirm the reversal aspect and the likely continuation. You do this because it allows you to wrap a strategic approach around the trade, an entry, a stop loss, and a take profit target. When looking for an entry point, you might have to be aware and present as price starts to decline from the peak, which would be that confirmation. Your stop loss order would then ideally be beyond that peak, so the sooner you enter, the lower the potential cost should you be stopped out, because your entry is very close to your stop. This helps you manage risk if the pattern fails. In order to derive a price target, you would perhaps look to the decline and estimate and measure the height of the inverted V. Start from the very bottom of that V and take it right to the top, project it all the way up, and then use that area for your exit. It'll also be mirrored on your chart if this pattern is being painted in the Gestalt way that most people imagine it. So when shares available on iBorrow for any particular stock increase, whether that be from 8 to 10.5 million or a similar percentage, it suggests that there's more shares available for short selling, which could indicate a decrease in short interest or simply an increase in the supply of available shares. This potentially leads to lower borrowing costs, and the information is valuable to traders because it allows them to understand sentiment and the potential short-term selling activity. With regards to technical analysis, looking at the inverted V top, it's a price pattern characterized by a rapid rise followed by a rapid descent, which forms that upside down V shape, and the pattern often indicates a bearish reversal. So using it effectively means that traders look for the high volume to get confirmation of that potential trade reversal. Entry points can be identified as the price begins to fall from the peak, stop loss just beyond it, and targets at the bottom where it started its rapid ascent. So if you know what stock you were talking about there, Moonlander, I'll happily get round to it in a second as price recovers back to trade spotting lines from support at another. It was a little bit anxious when I was off stream, but now I'm live again and back in the kitchen. Price is trying to put in a positive bullish trend. So far this morning, we've gone 38 minutes into the opening range, and you can see GameStop is trending bullish up 2%, but in terms of the technicals, It's going sideways and oscillating within an established range. So you would also like to see, as price breaks out of that range, an increase in volume coupled with an increase in volatility, speaking to strong moves towards the end of the opening range. Now we're going to return to Larry Cheng's tweets and talk about the insights that Rocky Outcrop has discovered from a deep dive and an analysis of who Larry Cheng is, his skills, behaviors, and communication style, and why it might be that he would say certain things at specific times in order to speak to his community and this GameStop shareholder investor base. Big changes are coming for GameStop. This is the first sentence on Rocky Outcrop's tweet. You can follow Rocky at Rocky_Outcrop on X, where he says things that I can't, which will help add extra value to your trading journey, make it so that you reach that destination quicker and do it in style and class. Rocky Outcrop on Twitter, Rocky_Outcrop. There are big changes coming at GameStop. Board member Larry VC, that's Larry Cheng, as I explained in the first show. He is the co-founder of Volition Capital, a venture capital firm. He's Ryan Cohen's close confidant and the original investor in Ryan Cohen's billion-dollar startup Chewy. He says, board member Larry VC is signposting for us. If you can read the message between the lines, it's all clear as day. This is a thread for GME shareholders, the most powerful community to have ever rocked those foundations on Wall Street. A street much smaller than it might imagine to those people outside the US. It's in fact quite a small, dirty, messy street with really bad roads, as is much of America. It's certainly not all it's cracked up to be. Larry says, the durable competitive advantage I feel most confident in is community. And at this moment, Larry is speaking to you, his community, the investor base in GameStop, and he's well aware of those people that listen to him on the internet, having a psychology degree, being a venture capitalist, well versed and skilled in effective communication, and understands how to speak and make a point without breaking any rules. He says the most durable competitive advantage is community. And in that message, he's telling you, I'm speaking to you. He's calling you on the phone and he's asking you to pick up. He then goes on to say, network effects and brand are right up there as well. Now, this is deliberately misspoken. The grammar and the English doesn't work, and it's done on purpose to heighten your attention to the points being made. And they are that network effect, that's when multiple entities in the same community all derive economies of scale and synergies from each other. Network effect and brand are right up there. And so at this stage of the tweet, Larry is already identifying the future of GameStop, which is going to be proven in the subsequent tweets from Rocky, where he says network effect, speaking to multiple acquisitions, and brand, which means established, well-recognized American brands being part of this M&A activity. This will be proven in the subsequent tweets from Rocky. Here we have it. GameStop does not communicate its plans. The board members do not communicate their plans, which is why it takes a fine-tooth comb and a keen eye to understand what is afoot. And what is afoot, Rocky? Overrated leaders who talk more than they listen, says Larry. Underrated leaders who lisp more than they talk. The first group cannot easily access the full talents of their team, whereas the second group is more likely to empower their team as their voices will matter. So there on the 20th of the 5th, 2024, Larry speaks to the lack of communication directly from the board and why that might be. Because Ryan Cohen is a lispiner, Larry Cheng is a lispiner, and they're both lisping rather than talking to get the best out of their team, who are clearly busy working. The team lispens more than they talk, says Rocky. Larry is communicating with the shareholders in the things he posts on Twitter. So this communication about lisping is very important and key part of the message being delivered. And he lispens too. It informs their strategy, says Rocky. The tweet from Larry: if you have a strategic question for your business with an unclear answer and an unclear path to finding an answer, a good path to take is to talk to your customers. It never hurts to talk to customers, and they are the most likely source to replace ambiguity with clarity. Here, Larry is speaking to business objectives. Now, don't confuse yourself. He's asking you to pick up the phone when he says community. In this instance, speaking about customers, he's not talking about those people who buy shares, but the customers at GameStop and their role in communicating how the legacy business could change by describing their own habits and behaviors, those companies they trust, those products and services they require, and how much they're prepared to pay if you're able to solve their pain points. By listening to him, we get a better idea of what the strategy is. First, it starts with the company internally improving the business from within. Before any share dilution occurred, the messaging being delivered by Larry was about the execution plans. And that's capitalized because it should take on extra meaning, not because you should read it at a higher volume. 3 sub-plans now from Larry, essential to overcoming corporate financing goal. A P&L plan, a balance sheet plan, a cash flow plan. Now, these are important accounting documents that speak to the need for capital. Capital being money, and that's why Rocky identifies this as Larry signposting about that raise in capital long before that raise happened, with this message on the 18th of the 5th, 2024. It's common to over-index one, but to hit on all cylinders. There should be execution plans across all 3 for any single corporate financial goal. This is because the balance sheet leads into the profit and loss account, which feeds back to the balance sheet, and all of this is facilitated by the oil in the cogs, which is your cash flow. Businesses live and breathe cash flow. They don't live revenue, and they don't live on profits. Larry here was talking about, says Rocky, what you should grade the company on. He said that before either of these dilutions. And so ahead of the cash raise, Larry has already said these 3 key points are where you should value your investment. He is saying that they are working on the other 2 and that they were already over-indexed on one. That is the balance sheet. They were under-indexed on cash flow and the income statement. So hold that thought and look to the May share dilution happening, with Larry confirming that in a tweet and sharing the news. Firing on all cylinders, says Rocky. Well, it is fire. Larry understands this. He understands growth. He understands value creation from that capital spend. Then, the latest tweet in this, shared by Rocky: strong cash position plus no debt plus a profitable business equals controlling your destiny. Add growth and you have real value creation in normalized market conditions. This is true regardless of company size, industry, and if it's public or a private company. Simple financial goals help focus the mind. Rocky states, but he can't communicate these things directly and obviously. He can't just tag GameStop or GME in his tweets and explicitly inform you of these companies' new strategic goals, nor can he detail and outline the narrative for them any more than he already has done in that tweet at the top of Rocky's thread. He understands communication, says Rocky. He is diligent and he thinks line by line. Especially clear when you focus on the fact that he talked about the balance sheet, the profit and loss account, and the cash flow statement. He's very much focused on the detail line by line. Certain things he says jump right off the page. And then another tweet shared here, a much longer one from Larry, that itself has meaning. Due diligence done prior to making an investment, years after making the investment, word by word, line by line, number by number. What happens with the benefit of hindsight is certain numbers, certain words, and certain observations from the original diligence jumping off the page. What might have been innocuous points that blended into a sea of diligence at the time of the investment now elevate themselves into being key elements, driving disproportionately the entire trajectory or the outcome of the investment. Read your investment, read GameStop. And it's with this clarity of that lens that when now doing due diligence on a new investment, you just know certain aspects of this diligence will pop years later, as the core drivers of that outcome. The key is to discern which item will be those disproportionate levers in advance. Therefore, the best way to train one's mind to see those levers in advance is to go through the process of reviewing past diligence, word by word, line by line, number by number, to see them in prior investments and train one's eye for future investments. And at this point, Larry's saying, if you go back and look at my previous tweets, you'll know we're now in a long-term conversation and I'm telling you a story. Like after the massive balance sheet boost in May, says Rocky, when the A rating became AA rating, and before it then became AAA+++ S tier, he repeated this message again. How to grade companies. Here's Larry's tweet. Grade your company's income statement, balance sheet, cash flow statement. It doesn't matter if one is A and another is D. The worst one, at best, is impairing your company, and at worst, it's taking down your company. Don't celebrate those strongest points, but instead strengthen the weakest one. So here Larry's also communicating that he's not going to big up Ryan Cohen for the sake of it, and he's going to talk about things that could be better in a specific way for a specific reason. Rocky says, before I share another interesting point about the June dilution, let me be clear and reiterate. Larry, who graduated in psychology, understands public speaking and leadership. Investing in these things early pays dividends later. And here are those two things in Larry's tweet. Two things to take bats at during your schooling years and early career. Public speaking and leadership. Both take practice to gain comfort in and competence. When asked, just say yes and get the reps in. It'll pay dividends later. So here Larry both signifies that he understands and is well versed in the importance of public speaking as he's doing here, and leadership, which is obviously his role because the word director is synonymous with the word leader. And of course, he is one of those leaders on the board of GameStop. He's also talking clearly about the fact that it's much better to get people in the roles responsible for the company objectives to talk about those goals and how they're going to be achieved, rather than relying on the CEO to speak for everybody. Rocky goes on to say, the June capital raise share dilution happened. Let's take a look at the number of likes this message got. Scroll back up in this thread and compare that to the likes the May dilution got. 3.4 thousand likes in GameStop's completing the At the Market Equity Offering Program, the tweet from the 11th of the 6th. Let's go back up to that previous one and compare the number of likes. This was the previous At the Market offering and it only got 2.7 likes. 2.7 thousand compared to 3.4. That means that more than 20% more likes, thereabouts, coming in for that later dilution. Rocky says, if you're starting to put this all together, you can tell that Larry is someone who's signposting. Well done, congratulations. If you don't see it by now, then perhaps you joined this video late. Go back to the start of this section and you'll get a really strong idea of what's going on. Good to have you with us on this journey. I echo that. Great to be with you, Rocky. Remember that likes and shares really help spread the good word. You can't spread the good word, that's on us. So get in there, see that tweet from Rocky at _outcrop. Like it and retweet it. We're in this together. The share dilution raised a lot of capital. A lot of capital. And people began communicating a lot about Ryan Cohen and if dilutions are good for shareholders who'd want higher share prices and so on. Did Larry hear any of this? Which is now explained in Rocky's next tweet. He did. Not only did he hear it, he already knew it was coming. The May dilution had started people talking. The upcoming June dilution would raise their volume, and he knew some people had different opinions on how the money should be deployed. He knows how much things will change in time. So much of decision making comes down to time horizon, says Larry. Two people with the same data sets, the same acumen and the same knowledge can make fundamentally different decisions if the only variable is different, is their time horizon. Shareholders began looking towards the imminent shareholder meeting, which at first didn't happen, and then when it did, it was over in the snap of a finger. All that extra time to prep, yet still such a quick meeting. Rocky Outcrop's ellipsis leads into Larry's next tweet. Anecdotal theory. It feels like there's an inverse relationship between the length of a board meeting and a company's performance. Shorter board meeting, strong performance. Longer board meeting, challenging performance. Actions speak louder than words. Lots of words are there to replace those actions or to make up for poor performance. A curt, concise, quick meeting is definitely better if I'm ever at any meetings. When the shareholder meeting was due to happen and we were all getting from Larry, what we were getting from Larry was posts about dilutions, it was if there was a half negative, half positive. You'll see the positive soon. Here we have that. Dilution is not neutral and shouldn't be viewed as such. It's either positive or negative. That is good or bad for people who put a lot of stock in that terminology. In the world of VC-backed companies, and that's Larry's world, dilution is such a normalized part of the journey that it's often passively accepted. This leads to negative form of dilution, such as capital being raised for inefficient sales and a marketing spend. Do we see this at GameStop? No. R&D supporting technology for searching for a market need. Do we see this at GameStop? No, there's no spend on R&D blindly looking in the dark for a market need. And as we know earlier from Larry's tweets, the best place to find the market for your product is in those customer needs, not as you might imagine by spending on R&D, but instead by speaking to your customers. And in that conversation, you listen more than you talk. Also includes other forms of negative dilution. Layers of unnecessary organizational overhead. And we can see that Ryan Cohen is not only cutting costs, but not taking his own salary and reducing those top-level executive spend. Vanity valuations. Clearly, Ryan Cohen has no need for any of that. However, dilution has a positive and accretive expression, as well as such capital is raised for. That being the potential half negative. Let's look at these positive takes. Scaling efficient go-to-market efforts. That's talking about economies of scale and the potential for growth without adding disproportionately to your cost base, so that your margin increases as your volume increases. And this is crucial for publicly listed companies that are looking for growth. Product and channel expansion with clear return on investment. Deleveraging, which means paying off debt, and strengthening the balance sheet, which means having money on hand. Accelerating market share gains for a sound business model. That's deploying that capital along with your previously profitable or newly profitable revenue streams. And a transformative investment. For example, mergers and acquisitions, real R&D, and capital expenditure. Larry concludes then that dilution should neither be passively accepted nor should it be categorically prohibited. It shouldn't be viewed as always positive or always negative, because it can be either. The purpose and the quality of the use of that capital is ultimately what defines the merit of any given dilution. So an excellent take there from Larry, covering both sides of the potential implications from a dilution, which was explained by Rocky as half negative and half positive. And there was a strong split in the investor base after that meeting. We talked about it here on the channel and did a poll which got close to 3,000 votes, maybe even 3,200, I can't remember. And it was a 50-50 answer with half positive response to the dilution and half negative. So there was a clear dichotomy, a distinction in the shareholder base attitude with regards to that share offering. Rocky now says he added to the story he was building about dilutions by directly focusing on an unnamed CEO. He says, for this reason, capital allocations is one of the most essential responsibilities and capabilities of a CEO. That unnamed CEO, because as we know, GameStop board members aren't going to explicitly talk about GameStop's new strategic focus on Twitter or X. Effective capital allocation leads to dilution being positive. Ineffective capital allocation leads to dilution being negative. It's usually that linear. So the question is about that dilution. Will it be deriving effective capital allocation? Where will the money go? And will that be effective? Now note, Rocky shares Larry's tweet here, and Larry is responding to that previous tweet we just covered that's half good, half bad. A lot of people took this as a dig, and it's true, they did. If Larry Cheng was seeing that Ryan Cohen doesn't have shareholder interests at heart or a plan for the return of investment on the cash raised, Rocky says, don't be silly. This guy loves Ryan Cohen. Furthermore, he loves the alignment with shareholders' interests, and he demonstrates that by showing this subsequent tweet from Larry that came on the 6th of the 6th. I can think of one other, speaking again about an unnamed CEO in response to Cathy Wood, who says, I'd argue that no other executive is as aligned with the shareholders as Elon Musk, who committed to no salary, no bonus, and no stock compensation for 10 years, unless he created tremendous value for Tesla shareholders. So there, Larry isn't saying that he's talking about Elon Musk. He's clearly saying it's someone else, and he's not naming who it is, but it's pretty obvious who he's associating that comment with. So people want to know how this fundraising story will be a good one for GameStop. And Larry then essentially tells us in this tweet. Now, this is a very important tweet, more recent here from Larry. Get it up here bigger. A good fundraising story is both top-down and bottom-up at the same time. Top-down being those venture capital firms or people like Larry himself increasing his position, or furthermore, Ryan Cohen doing the same. Bottom up is from the shareholders and raising money on the markets, and all companies listed on public markets are there for that explicit reason, to be able to raise money. Top down paints the strategic story of market opportunities. That is to say, venture capitals will invest in your plan if they believe in it. In order for them to believe in it, they're going to have to know it. For them to know it, it clearly exists, and therefore we can say with surety and speaking logically and not suffering from any bias, we can say conclusively, there is a plan, Larry knows it, and he believes in it. It touches on the pain points, the value delivered, the competitive moats, the capacity to scale, the aspiration for greatness. And in so doing, it conveys the opportunity. So if a venture capitalist firm maintain faith in that company, then you can say that there is top-down belief in the strategic objectives of that new plan. Bottom-up layers in real, actualized company data around each key assumption required for the opportunity to be realized. Everything is grounded in data and it conveys believability. So raising from the markets at the market's valuation of the company, as opposed to a future valuation based on hypotheticals, but rather on real data, on real history, on real experience. That's bottom-up investing and confirms the strength of those fundamentals which dictate that value of the company when it goes to market to raise those funds. Top-down elements inspire the optimist because they're going to have to believe and keep the faith. The bottom-up elements quell the pessimist because they're based on real data that everybody can prove. What must be avoided is being in the muddy middle, where the optimist is not inspired and the pessimist not satisfied. So people might think that GameStop are in the muddy middle because they haven't communicated their plans. But that would be a misunderstanding of what it is to be a venture capitalist, to invest from the top, to be a shareholder, buying from the bottom. And Larry clarifies that for us here. It's far more productive for fundraising to live on both ends of the spectrum and do both extremes well than to sit in the middle, which usually leaves everybody wanting more. And that means not everybody in the shareholder base, but all of the different stakeholders in the business. Rocky goes on to say, if you could tell you the story, it would be twofold. Top down, which conveys the opportunity, and bottom up, which conveys the believability. The first inspires the optimist, the second quells the pessimist. But of course, he can't tweet about GameStop. And on that point, there's certain things I'm not able to say about GameStop. If you're not already seeing what he's doing, says Rocky, which at this point I can't believe, and if you can't believe why I have to refer to Rocky and he has to refer to Larry and Larry has to talk around the margins, then perhaps you're not reading enough into the obvious nature of what I'm doing here and what I'm not able to do and why that might be. He believes in winning friends and influencing people, just like he said. Here's Larry's tweet, and it includes the picture of the front cover of How to Win Friends and Influence People. I first read this book when I was a teenager. Beat you to it, Larry, I was about 10. It's one of my go-to books for recreation. What I remembered most from my first read is you can leave a great impression on someone in a conversation without saying much by just being a good listener. Lots more wisdom in it, worth reading. But that key point about listening, it's there. The book is written by Dale Carnegie. Carnegie, one of the most successful businessmen of all time. Measured properly, you might say, he's up there with Rockefeller as literally the most successful businessman in the world. He came from Scotland, in a little town called Dunfermline, just outside Edinburgh, and he's a hero of Rocky and ours. And I won the Carnegie Prize for Innovation with Rocky. So, a little bit of lore for you there. Rocky goes on to say, and he has been clear about GameStop. It will win friends and it will influence the entire stock market. That speaks to the future plans are going to be transformative, amazing brands, incredible network effect, and all under one roof. At this point, it's extremely obvious what Larry is saying, why he's saying it as such, and what he's not able to say. And those being the explicit plan. So here Rocky is filling in those gaps between your understanding so that you don't need to fill it with ideas that you make up in your head to justify your investment, but instead real facts that prove your investment a good decision. He shares this tweet from Larry. Do you remember when Berkshire Hathaway was a textiles company? No, I don't remember that, Larry. American Express was an express mail business. Again, I don't remember that. No, it's true, and I know much about this, the subsequent list of companies here, but I don't remember these things. I just know them to have been true. Nokia, a pulp mill. Famous part of the world for lumber, famous part of the world for paper, a good reason to start your business in that industry then. But it transitioned into a mobile phone maker and now a technology company that's got very little to do with those roots in those trees. Amazing brands, incredible network effect. Samsung, a grocery trader. Marriott, a root beer stand. Root beer is disgusting. That tastes like Germaline. It really comes across like antiseptic cream. Instagram was a check-in app. Larry, you're not accurate there. I think he's focusing on Square and how Instagram had a battle with Square during their early years to capture market influencers who they knew would be a big part of their platform. Instagram began as a photo filter app, Larry, and I do remember that. Check out King Jamie the First on Instagram and you'll see a little bit of my modeling days. Businesses evolve. Other examples? Yes, Larry himself doesn't remember, but he points out that business evolve and there are other examples, question mark, leaving that open to you, not to lift his engagement or boost his tweets, but he's again signposting. Similarly, when he mentions the unnamed CEO, now you have the unnamed company also going through massive transformation, brands, network effect. And that brings us to the end of our journey, exploring the last month of signposting from our friend on the board at GameStop Hathaway. Let's start that one again. And this brings us to the end of our journey exploring the last month of signposting from our friend on the board of GameStop Hathaway. And just to bring this full circle, let me show you this again from the opening post. Our community, our network effect, our brands. The durable competitive advantage I feel most confident in is community. Network effects and brands are right up there as well. All of this shows what's coming at GameStop. If you found this commentary or Rocky's tweet enjoyable, and I based everything from his tweets here because I can't do it otherwise for reasons are obvious if you think about what I've been signposting myself. If you found value here, share it with other GME shareholders. Go to Rocky_outcrop on Twitter, like that tweet, share it now, and comment below. Also bookmark it, and bookmark every one of those, so that when it comes true, and when the obvious and implicit is explicit and being spoken about by everybody else, you can pull that tweet thread up and show I saw it first. I was here with all the moves ahead of the news. I'm part of the community that leads the markets. Rocky gives me a shout out at _tradespotting and at Rocky_outcrop, and be part of the discussion on our free Discord, discord.gg/RockyOutcrop. Like and retweet this to spread the good word. Big changes coming at GameStop. This is the one who figured it out and paid attention to the details in plain sight. His name is Rocky Outcrop, absolute legend. GameStop Hathaway made me fall out of my reading chair. Well done, legend. Excellent posts from excellent people. Join the team and be one of them. GameStop 24 spot 22. And as we said, sideways in that range currently. Thank you so much, Rocky, for that contribution to the shareholder base. You are more appreciated than you know. Back to the chat box now, and any questions that might have come in via the links in the description, I'll get to immediately. Good tip there from Bobby in the chat box. Buy a chair that actually works instead of spending lots of money on those that don't. James Halden's mum is buying LPSN and GME shares in her Roth IRA. James Halden, your mum is absolutely amazing. Thanks for that link, Lisa. Lisa, who writes the chapters for these videos, allowing you to get to the pertinent information as quickly as possible. She's done it for years. She's a superstar of mine. She's a queen in the community. Give a shout out to Lisa when you see her in the chat box there. Colin went on a LPSN spree today. Colin, you're a man after my own heart. I'm not going to be a gracious winner. That's okay, Colin. You can have some of my grace. Eric, I was lisping from the beginning. Bacon pancakes, we can let the world know we were right. Exactly. Pull those tweets up, stick them in people's faces, wave them about a bit, slap them across the side of their head, and tell them they're a dumbass, you were right all along, and you had proof at various stages. The proof was signified to you by important people on the board who knew what they were talking about, and you were making decisions based on real data sets, as Larry says. Donna, thanks for the breakdown, Rocky. Donna! Donna, the artist. The famous artist. Don't forget to like. I know, man, inflation is out of control. Out of control. It's actually back under control. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to miss the memo on inflation. It's back under control. We're only looking at 2%. That's just enough to expand the economy in a way that facilitates Keynesian economics. Those Keynesian economics, of course, a completely perverted, bastardized name because he was dead set against it. The only reason we ended up with that model was because the American Treasury for the Secretary at the meeting for Bretton Woods overruled Keynes, him being a Soviet spy, because the American government at various times is infiltrated and controlled by the Russians. That's happened previously, and who knows, it may well happen again. Don't forget to like. My Nokia was robbed from me in Compton, no joke. I got dropped off there when I was 14 by a Greyhound bus and I had no idea where I was, so I took a stroll. Take a stroll around Compton, lose your Nokia. It's probably still floating about in just as good condition. Nicholas, I want to invest in chips, preferably air-fried and fresh. I shall be making freshly air-fried chips later today. With these very potatoes. Did you get a good glimpse of them? Yes, these potatoes. Well said, Merrick. What did Merrick say? Rocky's more than just a top-tier classical chartist. He's a general in general analysis. He is very much so. Fundamental analysis, behavior analysis, all of these things are part of Rocky Outcrop's wheelhouse. He is incredibly intelligent. I myself regularly get over 130 on an IQ test. That's not all that surprising. Best I did was 150. Rocky would exceed me every day of the week. It's amazing that he can have normal conversations and doesn't kick and scream his way through the day. He is a complete genius, and still waters run deep. He's a very sensitive man, and he appreciates those positive comments. I know it. So, brands and network effect, eh? 4 years ago, GME was going bankrupt. Now, $4 billion in cash, no debt, trending towards profitability for all quarters. That's some deep value. Well, the deep value would be that the price itself doesn't properly represent the fundamentals of the stock, and that's why LPSN is such a huge opportunity. The fundamentals on LPSN suggest that it should be worth between $8 to $12 a share. The fundamentals on GameStop prior to that $4 billion raise would suggest that it was worth between $5 and $10. But it may well be that now, with that increase in capital on the books through the share offering, that you would say the company is closer to worth $15 to $18 on that fundamental analysis. Now, fundamental analysis is in no way appropriate for managing your trade. It might be the starting point of your investing decisions, but it certainly isn't the determining factor of how you'll handle them, nor does it speak to the long-term value of the company, because the company grows, it evolves, and when it's going through a transition period, you would in future expect it to have a different market, to have a different focus, and then to have different earnings, which itself would have a different multiplier in calculating the market cap. So while GameStop is now a growth opportunity, it's not quite a deep value growth opportunity of the huge potential that we see with LPSN. GameStop, if we're speaking about it outside the terms of a short squeeze, is not represent anywhere near the value that you get on LPSN, isn't anywhere near as good a trade, isn't anywhere near as lucrative for the individual shareholder. A lot of people are trading LPSN because they've got a strong impression on where they think it'll go. They have a strategic approach to their trade, and they, like myself, will likely take lots of that money and put it back into their GameStop position. That's something that people on this channel have been doing for the best part of 4 years, with many trades that I called out and other people tried to copy and pass off as their own, thereby destroying their own long-term credibility, because all this information is available to check on the internet, And if you were previously being mentored by me and then copy me, it doesn't take a genius. I mean, anyone can work it out, right? Anyone can work it out. You're copying me, you don't have your own ideas, and you yourself are a shellless, hollow loser with a thin version of your own identity, easily offended, and therefore bolstered with other people's identity. And it's pathetic. So we can come to decisions together, but we can't make them on our own and claim them to be our own if we've indeed come up with them as part of a team or through watching Trade Spotting and not being associated with his live stream or hitting the like button or sharing Rocky Outcrop's tweets, but just instead pretending that you somehow magicked up this information in your own grey matter. And remember, people like your mum and dad know you. They know how smart you are or aren't, and they know when you're talking complete shit, but have instead actually just found information that somebody else like myself or Rocky has spoken about. And it's not just your mum and dad, it's your wife, your husband, your children, your neighbours, your work colleagues, those people who might interact with you on the internet, and anybody who has any understanding or experience of interacting with you. So you're going to have to tune in here for a while. So, as we continue, the greatest story ever told about the greatest show we've ever seen. GameStop is trading at 24.28. Trying to put in those moves to the top side, holding that important support line. On the 1 minute time frame, you can see this ranging price action and this trend line going across the most recent lows and acting as support currently. Back now to SPX, which is SPY in another form, and we're going to look at this chart to talk about the potential for an inverted V top. Presumably Moonlander wasn't talking about it on the 1 minute time frame. 15 minutes, that might be where you are, Moonlander. At this stage, you're not seeing a double top here or on the 15 minutes. On the 1 hour time frame, these are all clearly higher highs with ranging sideways price action. This fib channel that Rocky Outcrop showed me how to put on his chart here, it has captured the rise in price action and these trending moves very, very well. We removed a couple of extra lines when price moved out of this area because of this reversal formation, price breaking through a previous high, and the likelihood that there would be support higher up, which is what happened at this phase of consolidation at 5.355. Currently trading at 5.474 and trying to put in another period of consolidation at resistance. No clear rejection with the support at 5.450. That's the golden pocket retracement. 236 coming in at 5.480, where price is pushing towards and needs to break after a good start to the day in that opening range. And it looks as though it's still in a period of consolidation. Should it break down, there's the 1414 and the 1.618 extensions that would take you towards and into and then complete a gap. That gap closes at 5.370 on SPX, or 5.37 would be the equivalent on SPY. Looking now to VIX, that is the volatility index, very inappropriately named because all it really measures is contracts out of the money. Therefore, it speaks to how many bad traders there are on any given period. Of course, that's impacted by prices moving. Typically, as prices move to the top side, those bad traders would decrease. As it moves down, those bad traders increase. So prices moving to the top side means that most people, most traders, most commonly, when they interact with SPY, are most frequently bullish. VIX testing that downward sloping resistance, trying to get back into a channel that it broke out of not so long ago here on the top side. We spoke about it potentially moving back in previously, and if it did, it would come to the basis line. We had that once, we talked about it later, we had it again. It exceeded it, but only to make an 886 retracement from the prior high, and therefore continuation likely coming next. That followed with a lower low, and is that confirmation that the continuation is indeed in effect. So the VIX putting in a potential formation here at this W at the bottom, but that would only be confirmed when price itself made its way back up above $16.50. That's a huge move from here. Likely it would face rejection. At the most recent lows, we've seen continuation divergence, and that speaks to potential continuation in the trend over on SPX. Here is it on the 4-hour time frame with Jerome and Joe straddling price here. Straddling it like the two strudels they are. He loves his ice cream and his dollars. Jerome, he is quite envious of the ice cream, and he wants to restrict the flow of those dollars in order to continue putting pressure on inflation, so that he's got the flexibility for rate cuts, which would allow to introduce greater liquidity into the system by making it cheaper to borrow, but without that cheapness in the borrowing rate, leading to an influx of money which was then a bad dilution and spent irresponsibly, which would increase the overheating we see in the current labour market, or make it even more unaffordable for people to meet their housing needs. Those two areas where we're seeing difficulty in the inflation rate is on energy. That would be controlled more by the State Department than it would be by Jerome. And he himself doesn't try to impact the money supply, he says, but he does, because that's the only tool they have for impacting rates, and that's why he enacts any of the policies he does with regards to the money supply. So, energy and housing, the two areas where inflation is sticky. Energy is tough to control because you have to, invade countries nowadays, it seems, and the frequency of that having dropped off in the last decade is a super positive situation for the world at large and speaks to a positive trend. Housing, on the other hand, isn't something that changes with every report at the Fed, because people don't move on the Fed's schedule. And while in America you move far more often than people here in Britain, you don't do it every month or every quarter or every year. And so you're usually subject to the same rates in your house that you have been previously. And it's only those new people that are now joining the housing ladder or now getting a place to live in for the first time that end up having to pay those higher rates. And so until such times as that rate of change with regards to housing, being rented houses, houses you buy, or houses you live in and own but could rent out, and that's an important distinction and a factor only considered in America and not elsewhere, due to the very strong sense of generating capital from real estate in America, means that there's this stickiness, that it takes a long time to get that inflation down. The only way you can have a dramatic and immediate impact on the rate of change in housing is by having a dramatic and immediate impact on the employment level. And so a weakening in that employment arena, an increase in unemployment, makes it easier for companies to then find new staff to do the jobs they require to generate a profit without having to constantly one-up each other on the wages. That one-upping on wages causes an increase in spending, which drives the prices of products to increase, which leads to further inflation. Without arresting that cycle, you'll experience secondary inflation, whereby producers increase prices again. Those prices can include inputs to the economic process and the value chain, such as oil pushing up energy again, gas in factories pushing up energy again. And that increase in these primary products leads to another furthering and acceleration of that increase when it's you meeting the market and buying things in the shops, at your groceries, meeting those important needs. And increasing in inflation makes it really difficult for the poorest in society and increases inequality. That inequality reduces the velocity of money through the system. Less money being spent means less money can be raised for the government through VAT, which leads to less taxable income, and so they need to increase taxes on your wages, which again increases those wages and causes this death spiral of inflation that nobody on the internet, certainly nobody doing the same job I am, certainly nobody doing it for free to make sure that you get better, so the markets get better, so the world is better. Nobody does it like trade spotting, even those people who wish they could copy me, because they can't hold the entirety of those points in their mind at any one point. They do not understand the implications from multiple dynamics, and they cannot hold consequential factors in mind and derive a logical conclusion because they don't have my experience. So hit the like button. Stop sitting there taking all this in for free and become a member. This is an important part of the markets. Nobody has ever done what Rocky and I are doing before. You're in a privileged place with privileged people who have been here before and learned incredible skills. So show your support and be a part of the team. That's Spy. Thank you very much for the question, Moonlander. That is an incredible answer. If you fax me with any request, you'll get similar because I'm the best. There's GameStop 24 Sport 50. Testing that topside line now. The area we thought it would go to. Caught support at important horizontals, and should it break higher, the next target 24 spot 88. Get there. That would be a fantastic move on price. It would be a higher high than this previous test of 24 spot 88 itself. Following on from a higher low at 24 spot 24, itself higher than 23 spot 77. Having had a positive opening range, that's the first hour of the trading day, you might then expect further continuation because the trend has been established in a high volume period. I don't have a mic because I'm using the one built into the laptop, but if I did, I'd drop it on you now. Markets are the most lucrative arena in the world. You can do lots of different jobs. Some of them you can do for lots of money and little effort. But they don't scale like trading. This is your chance to change your life. And I'm making it possible for you. Luke Spears. No fears. He's a capo, top membership tier. Don't get better than that. Thank you, brother Luke. You know when the company suggests investing in Bitcoin, something is amiss, says Bobby the Butcher. Well, it's done well for every company with any notoriety that's done it any time in the past couple of years or the past 5 years. It's been a fantastic decision to do it from the low teens there. It's made me stupid amounts of money. It's the bread and butter of many fantastic traders. The increased volatility speaks to the increase in opportunity. Investing in Bitcoin delivers unique opportunities for your treasury as a business, provides amazing defense against short attacks, and bolsters that interest in the shareholders for your company. It's also a hugely positive topic of conversation. It speaks to huge growth. It's the potential of money is in Bitcoin. And in future, all money will be freedom monies on the blockchain, the best of which, the most secure, with the biggest network, with the strongest history, will be Bitcoin. Bing Bong says, Jake, a total legend. If you're on the course, you'll know Jake. He regularly helps out with new traders, learning the ropes, and is a lieutenant of ours. They're giving study courses and luxury extra lectures in all of the topics from the course material weekly on Sundays in the Discord. You can join the Discord for free, but you can only get on that side of it with the course people. If you take the course, you get that access for life, and you get to join all of those study classes with a group of traders who are clearly going to be the best in the world. It's without doubt at this stage. They're already a group of people there who I could tell you on my hands and toes, Jake included, who are going to change the world around them, change the communities they come from, and they'll be building statues to these people. No doubt. You think I'm joking? I'm going to fund the first fucking statue. Make it you. Make it a statue in your town, in the centre of your square. Make your face on it by joining the TradeSpotting community. Chubbs, a total legend himself. Wacking, what's stopping them from capitalising on the volatility themselves, offering shares when it's high and buying back when it's low? Because that would be a very cynical behaviour. It would be price manipulation by causing share issues at the top just to push price down in order to accumulate more later. It wouldn't be well received by the market. It would be incredibly unethical. I'd immediately exit my entire GME position. I'd never go fucking near the company again if they started behaving that way. I'm here to improve the markets, and GameStop's a vehicle for doing that. It's not a weapon to attack shareholders with, and that's what they'd be doing in that instance. It's also illegal to do that with those intentions. And so they better not start doing that, whacking you. They absolutely better not start doing that. They will not just lose me, they'll lose the vast majority of sophisticated investors who believe in GameStop, and the thing would become a joke, completely ridiculed by plenty of people. And so they better not start doing that. It's also illegal. So it's very unlikely they would do that. And I think Ryan Cohen knows well and truly the truth of that. What we would like to see, Wakinya, is them focus on those core competencies, deliver on their KPIs, the key performance indicators. That's deploying capital for their business purposes in order to achieve those goals on the business plan. That's deriving capital expansion from capital expenditure. It's what businesses do. They pick a market, they exploit it, they make money, they derive value, they give it to shareholders, they deliver it for their customers, and they employ people in the process who pay for their lives, cover their mortgage, and buy their shopping. Also, this is the focus of every business, to be a leader in their field and stick to their knitting. It's our job to buy when it's low and sell when it's high. It's GameStop's job to be that vehicle of change. Monument put up of me, lol, they already got wanted posters. Yo GTA, well then, perfect place, I came from a wanted poster, and now you see me here in the middle of your town, having changed everything around you for everybody. You can run the local credit union, you can have a statue of you outside, you can own or support all of the businesses that would make your town vibrant, dynamic, interesting, worth visiting, even better to live in. You can improve the state of those businesses that are currently good by helping them raise cash flow, either through your own credit union or through your investment in that private company. You can take those big ones and give them good advice. You can show the people who run them the TradeSpotting and Rocky Outcrop way to increase their funds so that they can derive a better business from their own efforts, which they can eventually list on the market so that they can have their cake and eat it too, just like you and everybody else in your town. That was a genius move by Netflix, no doubt about it. Bo the Butcher with a Netflix shout out. Maybe they'll lisp into the shareholders and find some deep value play at the crossroads of delisting and a technological revolution. Merrick, they may well do. What a beautiful headband you've got, you lovely, beautiful headbanded person, you. Cheers, Ishmael. What did Ishmael say? Appreciate you, bro. Yep, see that? That's the way it works. A positive culture of support, a determined focus on excellence, and never resting, never stopping. Not only is no one ever going to catch us, we're accelerating at pace away from them. GameStop coming back to that potential support line. Bear in mind it's a 15-second time frame and it's a diagonal line. First thing I'm doing with my earnings is investing in TradeSpotting chips. I trade TradeSpotting chips, the only chips worth YOLOing in the whole bag. Nicholas Ryan, you're a man ahead of your time. If anybody has any questions, let me know using those links below. Momentum here dropping into the bearish control zone. I don't like arguing with price when it's in that area, but price really ought to learn. Don't argue with TradeSpotting. He's not the type to appreciate it. He will destroy you. And we all want the best for everybody. Don't we, Price? I'm in the kitchen. Speaking about the kitchen, I'm going to chop up those Yes, chips in the coffee roaster. Chips straight from the coffee roaster. Vic Vince, the spuds are fantastic where you're from. Lispinlicious, chipalicious live action. Damn right, Lisa. You're overextended on garlic. Aha. There's worse things to be overextended on. You'll be getting a margin call from your broker about your garlic habits shortly. Perhaps what's happened because another 2 people left. Oh my god. 20 people just showed up. Hello, welcome. If you just joined, hit the like button. We don't want to fall out. I think what happened there a little bit was that because price is below one of TradeSpotting's lines. Yo, 3 spuds. Lucky us, 3 spuds. Vic Vince celebrating being a member, an associate member now. And it's not your regular TA fiend. She's an associate. 37 months. Bloody hell. That's right, up there. I'm going to start keeping a note because that's nearly a record. Nearly but not. Didec hedges can take my money, but they will never take my freedom. Thanks for sharing your TA skills with us, Jimbo. Learned a lot. I'll make sure that they don't ever take your money again either, Didec. I'm also going to go after them and destroy them for what they've done to everybody. So hit the like and subscribe button and stay tuned. I will pull some world-ending trades up on you guys. We're going to absolutely, completely and utterly crush some huge funds on this channel. And when we've managed to crush enough, when I've got those dominoes beneath us, when we're standing tall on a pile of their bodies, I'm going to take State Street down. The world's biggest bank with assets under management. I have them in my sights. And there's no getting away from me. Unless you make me in charge of the place, which is a job that you're never going to get me to do. So, I mean, there's no getting away from me. You're screwed, bankies. So, perhaps, Jamie, could you go over a good strategy for those who bought into GameStop in the 30s? Well, everybody's different, right? Everybody has different goals from their trading. Everybody has a different personality and style when it comes to doing specific things. Very few of you will actually follow my advice properly. Most of you will inject your own unilateral thinking, which, quite frankly, isn't as good as mine and will compromise the plan that I give you. But let's assume that doesn't happen and that you've all got exactly the same circumstances. And those circumstances are you bought $1,000 worth of GameStop at 35 bucks. You want to get your entry down to $29, call it $30, and you have 1,000 bucks left over of your remaining capital. Well, you're going to need to, by necessity, in order to get that entry below $30, you're going to need to buy GameStop at $25 with that remaining 1,000. GameStop's currently trading at $23.85, so this is an area where you could start making those moves. You could gradiate those entries over a number of prices between here and the gap on the chart. The gap on the chart most relevant to you is here on the 5-minute time frame. You can see the top side of it at 20 spot, let's call it 20 spot 10. And the close would be at 19 spot, let's call it 69. Those might be areas where you would think about putting some entries. You might think about putting them on the low side of this wedge that price action's in here. And you can split up that $1,000 so that you're entering at various areas. You're reducing your entry, and you're making it so that price and your overall entry is more approachable when it comes to managing it on the sell side of the trade. Now, how do you sell GameStop shares? Well, I assume, and I'm going to imagine you're all the same in this example, that the proportion you'll be selling, you want to do it in profit, but it wouldn't be part of that of your original shareholding. If it is, fine. You earned the right. It's your money. It's your risk. It's your story. You're the author of it. And you're in charge of your life. And you'll also defend your mind and your decisions the same way you would your body. You're not going to let somebody else tell you what to do. You watch Trade Spotting. You do it for a fucking reason. And it's not so that some dickhead on the internet somewhere else in some shitty forum can go along and make you feel anxious or insecure about your decisions. You've got a real plan. You know what you're doing. You're going to do it properly. Hats off to you. Part of the team, welcome aboard. So it might be that you're trying to divest a little bit of that proportion of the funds that you added in at around 25 or down there it's 19.69 or across those various entry points, at which your entry itself would be reduced to below $30, and then when price returns to 30 you can take that additional capital you put in to move your entry out of the trade. You can put your stop loss at $29 and change. You can wait till price goes up a little bit further and then keep putting it behind every pullback that price makes. So for example, this area here at 22.62, that's a pullback area for some. This area here, at the bottom side of that gap, you'd want to give the gap a little bit of respect and put your stop loss just beyond it. Maybe it's just below 1950. This is the definitive low in price with these artifacts that we've talked about though, so maybe it would be 1750. Obviously that does not accommodate in people who want to exit in profit and are currently looking at a cost basis above 30, but as price moves to the top side, exceeds your entry and starts putting in similar lows, higher lows along the way, you can add your stop to below that previous oscillation. There's other ways for managing your risk. You should take the course. It's www.technicalanalysis.school. If you're trading without having taken that course or done any formal trading education, and you're investing large amounts of capital that have now caused you to be anxious or worried, then know that I rapidly lose respect for you, because there's a course I made. It's world class. It's very cheap for what's on offer. It'll make you loads more than it'll cost you. The longer it takes you, the more money you're missing out on, because it teaches you how to trade. You could be capitalizing on that knowledge now, but instead you've wasted it in shitty trades. And know that I rapidly lose respect for you. Not because I don't think you have the money to do it. I know you do, because you're wasting it trading like a moron. And you should instead be taking that course, interacting with the expert traders on Discord, and actually realizing your potential as a trader instead of throwing it away, pissing it in the wind, giving up all your capital to the fucking hedgies we're fighting. You want to instead focus on doing things properly. And the first step is learning what it is that you're actually doing. And I give you the best course in the world for getting started in that. And it's at www.technicalanalysis.school. But I assume that you're en route to doing that. That is part of your plans, and that's the people I'm really speaking to. Guys, good decision. Making that part of your path will mean that your trajectory is definitely steeper, that your consistency is more reliable and more long term, and together that will make you tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, then later millions of dollars, because your trajectory was set properly at the start. A lot of people think they need money to start trading. You don't. You need balance. Balance allows you to maintain that incline, understand what you're doing, and increase and improve yourself over time. You can start with the smallest amount it takes to buy a single fractional share. You could do it in a cryptocurrency, and you could be, in a month, easily able to pay for that course on very minimal starting amounts, if you simply follow the advice that people give you on the free side of Discord. So to not be on that path would really mean that you don't believe in yourself long term, that you're looking for the market to do things for you. And I can tell you that as soon as the market sees you coming, it's going to know you for who you are, and it's going to take your money like it's done to countless millions and millions of traders before you. I can give you more specific advice on your exact situation and show a little bit more respect for your position and appreciation for your circumstances if you let me know what those details are. Though you would have to let me know about private things like your position size, your available capital, and your own impression of price and your goals from being a trader, and the way you do that is on the Discord. Price action now, back down to the 15-second time frame because I explained things on the 5-minute just so you could see those important artifacts, including the gaps. Here you've got this bullish divergence. You've also got a failure swing. You've got a W bottom. Price now wants to try for 24.10. It wants to break that and go up to 24.10 is where it wants to go. After it breaks that, you've got these important horizontals which are still relevant. 24 spot 24, 24 spot 50. With a positive opening range, with bullish divergence on these lows, with the chart formation suggesting it could move up, may well be that's what you're looking for. Any other questions, feel free to put them in using the links in the description. Rocky's indicators are not available with the course 2. Check, you get them by joining the paid side of Discord, where you get all of those indicators and the new ones coming and the updated versions of these as they're improved. You get them and you can make the money that costs to buy them in one trade, easy peasy, especially because there's rooms that explain how to use them properly, with people calling out trades based on those indicators, the targets you get from them, and the best place to enter. So you can use those resources available to you as soon as you subscribe to Rocky's Patreon. The indicators, the paid side of Discord, that room, the RO Flash room, and I'll tell you as well, happily tell you if you're at that level of commitment, plenty of trades that you can take on short term, medium term, long term that'll meet your goals, and you'll be able to be just like lots of the other people here in the chat box who can rely on those indicators to help them make really successful trades repeatedly. So check it out, the Patreon. That might be the way you want to scale up to ultimately taking the course. It's a lower initial capital investment, and ultimately it might be the thing that ends up paying for the course. So if that's your consideration, you want to get in paying $100 a month instead of $1,500 to take the course, then you're welcome to do it. Serious traders will consider both, and those people who ultimately join the team, obviously everybody already has, and that I hold close as one of those special traders who are going to change the world with me and maybe do it for you if you don't make these decisions. You can be one of them. My chips are ready. Ah! Ooh, chips. Hey? Pardon me. I'm back. Nothing missed. Malt vinegar. We've got lots of different types of different types of vinegar. Malt vinegar included. We've got red sauce, very good for the boys out there. We've got brown sauce, very popular here in Scotland. I've got chip shop brown sauce, which is brown sauce mixed with malt vinegar to the exact secret proportions, which is absolutely amazing. But wait till I finish these chips. They're potato chips. They're thin cut potato chips. Or chunky fries. there's very little math involved, clear, and very, very little math involved, and that which is there is very simple and well and clearly explained. But rather than me sell the course and push it on people, plenty of people in the chat box here have taken it and they'll tell you what they think of it. A big plate of chips. You'll never guess what this is. This is Hellman's finest. I got this on the beaches of Normandy when I destroyed a hedge fund there. They had conquered most of Europe. And when I destroyed them, I took this as a little souvenir. Mayonnaise on my chips. Love me a bit of mayo now. It's an acquired taste. Tastes like victory. Price doing what we told it to do. I mean, what we said it would do. I shall let the chips rest for a moment as I take you guys back into the church. Do you want to hear something funny? It's not funny at all. Like, it's not funny. Other people would tell each other about, like, I did this thing, it was funny. It's not funny. I had these zombie orders in on this thing from May sometime. I had done all this analysis on this thing. And it's up 1.11%, but Bitcoin's down 4.6% and Ethereum's down 3.67%. But this thing's done good. I had this diagonal, which had 3 touches. Price had broken through the downward sloping resistance, and then from the low to the high we drew on a time-based fib. And I put these orders in back in May, and then somehow forgot because I was so busy. Probably because of everything that happened with GameStop and, you know, it happened around similar times. So I had these orders in at 885 here somewhere. Anyway, it went down the other day and took them, and then I woke up this morning, or that morning, and looked at my phone, and it was, the app there says that my position talked about, I was like, what? Wait a minute, what? And I was looking at my emails, and it was like, yeah, you got that order, and I was like, wait a minute, what order? What are you talking about? I didn't even open this app recently. What's happened? When I saw the position, it was in profit. So I stuck a stop in profit. But this is a leveraged product, so it's very dangerous to just willy-nilly take trades without looking and stuff. So interesting that it's challenging that top side. I wouldn't put too much faith in it, what with Ethereum pushing down, Bitcoin pushing to those levels Rocky was chatting about, also towards this idea of the failed wedge turning into a channel. See, follow along with Rocky's TA. Or was he just doing that with me? Still follow along with his TA. So I don't have much faith in the outcome here, but I have my stop in profit, so it doesn't matter. But dangerous, very, very dangerous. GameStop 23.98. Zoom zoom. Got to that 24 spot 10 level. Well, it did what we said it would do. We can't ask much more of it. We could high price, I'm in the kitchen, can you just go up to 24 spot 24? We could say that to it. But it might say, I don't have the momentum. Captain, I don't have the momentum. Which is what they're always saying down in the engine room, you know? They're always saying that stuff. I have just learned, right there now, I've just learned that you can eat a whole packet of ramen in 5 spoonfuls and it doesn't even feel like you've eaten anything. Well, Baker Matthews, you have a Coco. Hello, Coco. Now we know Jimbo's an alien. Who told you, Didek? If anybody hears any background music too loudly, or if it's disturbing, just tell me. Dude, switch on to protein. Ramen is crap. Ramen is brilliant. It was sent to me as a care package from Sen Kithas, so I'm eating it just because, you know, memories, but I'm also eating chips and burgers. As you can tell, I'm just a poor boy, brought up on porridge and turnips, and now I'm just, you know, enjoying the fruits of my success by eating all sorts of things from different cultures, like the real popular American food, ramen. Critical Meowler, how are you, my friend? L. Baker with a lovely message. Fave Josh. Hiya, Fave Josh. You think price will go up again? Possibly, yeah. You're just a Scotchman penny pinching in it. We're famous for that. Good to see you, Joshua Perryman. Actually, about that comment there that Didek made about penny pinching Scottish people reminds me of this story. I don't know if I've told you before, but It was quite recently, right? I was getting on a bus here in Edinburgh, and I got on the bus. It went a couple more stops, and pulled over at this lovely, really lovely bridge. Right, the bridges in here, and most of this architecture here is, you know, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years old, like much older than America. All the buildings around here, for example, all built and lived many lives in them before the present rulers of America had discovered that it even existed. The bus pulls in at this lovely bridge at a wee stop, and this man gets on with his suitcase and he says, "How much is it?" And the bus driver tells him, you know, £1. And the guy says, £1? You try to rob me? How the hell did it get to be so expensive for the bus? And the bus driver's like, oh, here we go again, another one. You know, and this conversation ensues for a while, and the guy's saying, there's no way I'm paying you £1. It's daylight robbery. I'm not paying you £1. And the bus driver says, well, you can get off the bus then, because that's the price. And keeps telling him, you know, and they get in a bit of a heated exchange, and the guy's like, you basically got your hand in my pocket. You know, you basically got your, you know, get your hand out of there. You know, you're robbing me. You've got my hand in your pocket. And then bus driver gets really fed up with him, and he gets out of his little cab. He climbs down onto the floor of the bus. Thanks, Joshua. Look at that. Blinkers, you lucky thing, you. You and Joshua are now basically married. Blinkers. Kiss the bride. Say thank you very much. Anybody ever gets you a gift of a membership, it's a really huge thing they're doing. They're investing in you and the channel all in one go. So that's a huge testament to Joshua there. Thank you very much, Joshua. Blinkers is your new buddy. So the bus driver, he gets into the little floor of the bus, and he takes the guy and he pushes him off the bus quite violently. And, you know, at this point I was concerned because he's an old man. And then he takes his suitcase that the man had, and he chucks it out the door. And it goes out the door, over the edge of the bridge, falls all the way down, lands in the river and floats away. And the old man's like, oh my God, first you rob me, then you kill my only son. Bing bong. I know, right, Marcus? A traumatic story. Yes, the tips are done, Nicholas. Tell me you left the stream and came back without telling me you left the stream and came back. What do you want to know about GME auctions, Blinkers? And where are you learning about them? I had a work meeting about someone not refilling the toilet paper. Oh my God. Who's your boss? Is that something that actually happens? I did some analysis on 2023 stocks that when they got added to the Russell 3000, over half of them jump up. Russell 3000? Oh, Lipson's joining that Russell 3000. 28th of June, in fact. That's in 4 days' time. That's this week. Friday this week. Friday this week in Lipson. What did you say earlier, Joshua? You had a question. Good to see you, brother. Just got on today. Made another option pay for Lisbon AM. Curious your thoughts on the Russell 3000 coming end of the month. Similar to yourself, that many companies, once they're added to that basket, need to be acquired by lots of big firms. There's a low availability of shares on Lisbon. That's a big opportunity for it. So I used the data to make an options play just in case. 50 cents and $1. The way I'm looking at Lisbon options is only getting contracts where the strike is already in the money, And later, should price start developing a positive bull trend, will give me the right, and then obviously the opportunity to buy those shares at the price I agreed by buying those options. And that's why I'm considering and do pay the premium for those strikes, because I'd like that right in future. But the vast majority of my capital on Lisbon, or of course anything, but in particular on Lisbon, is very much in shares. There's Price doing that. Well, we told it to again. Goodbye, Price. Goodbye, Price. Mags has been teaching me on DMs and Twitter. Mags? DMs? Twitter? Blinkers, get yourself on the Discord. And into the GME thread. All of that on the free side, you know, better still on the paid side, but if you're there on the free side, and there'll be people there who've got well-honed, well-practiced, successful strategies that they can show you the ropes with. For its worth, we are today finally at the magic fib circle boundary trace point. Maybe we'll see an inflection. I'm kind of hoping that it waits a little bit, but we can't. We can do that. Eric, 5 membership gifts. Oh my goodness. Look at those good folks. The good time good folks getting those membership gifts. Nick Cheatwood. Mr. Cheatwood, thank you very much. Welcome to the channel. That was gifted to you by Eric Sorensen. Give him a thanks there in the chat box. The least you can do. Thank these people. Say, thank you so much. I am so lucky. You are very, very generous, Mr. Eric Sorensen. Same with yourself. Part-time player, good to see you again. Part-time player. Part-time player. In from the bench. Mostly sitting there smoking, eating kippers with his feet up. But we've been called into the game now by Eric. Part-time player. Think about extending that membership. Becoming a long-term member. Think about it. Chad Tang. Yourself as well. Good to see you, Chad. Good to see you, Mike. Nicholas. You lucky people. Think about becoming a member long term. Thinking about renewing that membership and supporting the channel would be appreciated. Let me just see. And I'll remember because I've said it. Nicholas Ryan, Mike Hunt, Chad Tang, part-time player, Nick Cheatwood. Nicholas Ryan, Mike Hunt, Chad Tang, part-time player, Nick Cheatwood. I will now remember your names forever and that you were gifted a membership that time. Chips for everyone. Well, I think it's 5 o'clock Eastern time that Larry starts his live stream, which would be towards the end of the market day, which is a couple of hours away still, right? I might be wrong, it might be at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or Eastern Summer Time, or whatever time it is that you've got over in the East at the minute. The beast from the East, the humble mumble. Often copied, never bettered. What time do we think that Larry's show's on, and would you like to see it here on the show? Yes, Gary. I've not got the world's greatest mic. I need the world's greatest mic, but I don't have the world's greatest mic. So I rely on you being able to turn up that volume, crank it right up, or if you're on a phone, switch to the telebob or the computer and turn it up there. And if you still can't hear me, download an extension for your Chrome that like blasts it even louder than your computer would normally allow you to do. At which point you'll be scared by the ads, you'll be shocked by the donations, you'll be blittered by the technical analysis. The dude. More people doing more things with bananas driving price. Do we think that is a real factor to consider? Tracepoint, I hear Ferrari Apertas have awesome mics. Eric, I heard you're saving up for a wee Ferrari Aperta for me. I am looking forward to receiving that, my friend. It'll be the first one I've got. I was kind of anticipating that, you know, as a collective unit we might have managed to scrap together and get one by now. But no such luck. Emmanuel Del Galadilio, I'd love to watch LC stream with this community. Oh my god, with this gifted membership I no longer need fear loud adverts. Let's go. Let's see, that's another benefit to becoming a member. It's not an intentional thing, I've just realised it when Nicholas points it out, but maybe you don't get maybe you don't get adverts. Right? You probably will get adverts, right? You probably will. But you'd be on YouTube Premium, you wouldn't get adverts. The news was that the shorters left the stock now that you cannot trust. Shorters left the stock now that you cannot. I don't understand that message, Bobby. Hit the like and subscribe button or you're a soggy chip. Yes, no one wants to be a soggy chip, do they? Literally nobody wants to be a soggy chip. James, it's a cup with handle and it's a continuation pattern. I did talk about this recently with a guy called Tor. If you're there, shout out Tor. We had quite an engaging conversation, if you were there at the time you'll remember, where he told me he was trading a cup and handle on a tiny time frame, and I said that when William O'Wheel invented it in 1979 he had very specific requirements for them. They're continuation pattern. They're preferably seen on the weekly time frame, 7 weeks in the cup. Tor and I fell out because, well, he assumed that I wasn't trying to help him, I think. And so his reaction was initially less than positive, but we later became friends and it ended really happily. So shout out to Tor if you're there. Hit a like and subscribe, you big soggy chips, you guys. If I tell you, how will you follow me in GameStop? If I tell you, will you follow me in GameStop? Like around the shop. Like when you move around looking at different stuff, I'll move around looking at different stuff. Is that what you mean, Howling Puppy? Good to know, thank you. Always happy to learn. Yes, the main pattern there, the main point of that pattern, whether you're looking at it on the 5 second or the 7 week, is it's a continuation pattern in a bullish trend. Typically, William O'Neill liked it when a stock had just made a new all-time high and then had something new about that company at the same time. So a crucial part to the cup with handle formation that, again, people just don't know, and there's others which if you keep watching I'll reveal over time, is that you need something new to come along at the same time with it. A new announcement, a new product, a new big investor, something new. And so the pattern itself in that exact instance with that particular pattern isn't just that the guy who invented it would say that you should do it in a particular way. It's that it doesn't conform to the normal style of chart pattern, which is based on the psychology of market participants, based on the previous price action they've seen. It's instead in part influenced by the extraneous factors, which he sees on the chart in the cup with handle. So what you really want to be saying in that situation is, I am trading something that looks like a cup with handle, which gives me a measured move. Now, that cup with handle might be a reverse scallop. It could be 10 other different things that it probably is and not a cup with handle. If you're not looking at it on the weekly time frame and so on. It'll also mean that the reliability of that formation, which is what you need, and because you use that reliability and you match it with your edge, and the risk-reward ratio from your strategic approach to trading, that means that you'll make more money from it than you will over time, and that's why you would trade that formation. If you're trading it on the 15-second time frame or the 1 minute time frame, then you don't have that strategic approach to price. You're doing it in a different way. You've got a different edge, not that which is defined by the strategy itself. You maybe don't even have that, in which case you're definitely not trading cup with handles. But I understand. People do like saying the words cup and handle. They just love it. People love it. Not picking on Tor. We got on in the end. It was a critical moment in our relationship. We'll both look back on it as one of the things that brought us together. Brother Butcher, kind of, but not convinced yet. You still can't tell the difference between LPSN, GME, and why? You can't tell the difference between them. Who can't? Who can't, Bobby? Butcher, I learn stuff every minute because I am clever like that. He is, certainly. He's constantly learning. Pretty darn good. Pretty darn good. Brother Butcher, I will for free. What will you do for free? I'm interested to see how this conversation plays out between Bobby the Butcher and KT. All eyes on the chat box, everybody. Really interesting. See what's going on there. RO flashers on the 1 minute. Bacon pancakes, you smart little chappy, you. Take a look at MLGO again. What do you see, wise one? I'm not looking at it. No, I'm looking at GameStop there, silly Billy. If you want me to look at it, I can do. But if you're a trader with capital and you're interested in trading shitty little stocks with tiny market cap that make huge moves pre-market, so have a big gap, are extremely volatile and very, very dangerous, and you're going to throw capital away at that, then you can afford to send the request in using the links in the description below, sir. Open up the option market for GameStop, then go to July the 12th expiry date and look at the $85 strike price. Right? Why? I mean, just tell me why, Howling Puppy. This isn't like a magical escape room where I you know, this isn't the crystal maze. Also, just tell me what it is. Like, I'll miss your next message possibly. So, like, there's no point speaking in riddles. Just tell me what it is. What am I supposed to see there? And then great. Or you're saying follow me in GameStop because you bought that strike at that expiry. So you got those contracts on July 12th at an $85 strike, which means that in GameStop you're looking for it to move up 4x by July the 12th. Hi there, I'm upstairs doing a YouTube video and I've just got a copyright notification for the music. This one will have cost me, this one will have cost me £600, and last week it cost me 1,200. So so that's very expensive for your business. Now I've recorded it all and it happens live, so it's recorded there online, so I don't need it recorded by the council. It's witnessed there and it'll be witnessed by the council again. And I have to phone up and make these phone calls regularly when I'm at work, which of course you don't appreciate being taken away from your work. So if we could work together to stop this happening regularly, we would all benefit. Thanks, yeah. That would be appreciated. We've also got somebody coming out to check the plant machinery noise tomorrow evening because the noise is so bad. So if you could pass the message around so that it's actually heard and consistently stuck to, that would be a really big favour. Thank you. Right, okay, so a little mistruth. A little mistruth. But you know, sometimes you have to motivate these businesses to think about costs. Right? I'd like to know, Bobby, what it is that you find particular about KT that aggravates you so much that you have these confrontational conversations with him. I'm also wondering why it would be that the conversation would include things like, you can't explain the difference to me, and your answer was shallow as expected. What does as expected mean? You know, it sort of speaks to the fact that you're judging the guy playing along with Lipson. But why does it say your answer was shallow as expected? I mean, that seems um, like aggressive in its determination there. KT, you say I think it's all tongue in cheek, so you're being kind and you're taking it as a humorous experience because you're a nice guy and that reflects well on you. But Bobby, what are you trying to achieve, and how do you think it, you know, if you speak to your own intentions there, KT, we'll let you speak to yours. We'll let you speak to yours and we'll let Bobby speak to his. Why do you have to achieve anything? See, now you're answering a question with a question. And it's either because you don't like the fact that I'm pulling rank on you here, Bobby, and telling you I'm in charge and demanding that you behave properly, or you do indeed have some sort of a personality issue. In which case, you know, back in the day, you used to talk at the local pub. What was the achievement in that? That's again, you see, another question, and it's not actually answering my question. Is it why is it you are picking on one person, judging them and their intentions, critiquing their answers to you when they're doing you a favour by interacting with you, and having a problem with someone as opposed to being friendly with somebody? And obviously, you know, we've had this conversation before. So if you could get around answering it so that, you know, this part of the show doesn't drag on too long, and we can figure out how things are working out, then, you know, in future, what trajectory you're on here. Because, you know, you're enjoying yourself, you've been here a while, you spend time here, quite a lot of time, and you've got a lot of potential to get value from the place. So opposition team. And then they get a number of strikes. Every time it happens counts as a strike, and eventually they get a prohibition order where they're not allowed to play any music. Which seems stupid to me, that there would behave that way, and that would be the end result, you know, because we live in a society where people should conform to the rules, and you can make people conform to the rules with GameStop or anything else. So, we return. We return to the show. You're a trader at TradeSpot, you're a doomslayer, and you just slayed some doom a little bit. It's also embarrassing when people from the council come in, turn your music down on you, and tell you you're behaving like a fanny. It's embarrassing, and I wouldn't appreciate it if it was my kitchen. And like everywhere in these sort of businesses, there is a hierarchy. So the guy running the kitchen, his staff are less happy, he's less happy. And if he was a good leader, he wouldn't let his staff go through that. But because he's more interested in fighting with me, it shows that his ego and aggression have overcome his rational mind, and he's making his own job harder. Brick Potter, I did not get the new mic. I didn't collect that connection wire when I really should have. But tomorrow, there's always tomorrow. So, I mean, there's an obvious trend line you can draw outside of this formation itself, constructed across a number of highs, taking this wick across the peak here of the deep crab. And it may well be that you would discount that and instead, oh, where did that guy come from? Instead use this guy, that top of that target here, this area, in which case you could take this tighter across the top side here. You need 3 to make it work. You get 2 at the start, and then this most recent resistance level, the body close right on it, would suggest that there's a degree of fidelity there. Take it on into the meeting point. Now you can see that this formation encompasses the recent price action as it pushes towards the apex being where these 2 lines meet, and so typically 75% of the way there you would look for a break. 60 is 100, so 6 is 10, so 12 to 18 off the thing leaves you with 45, 46, and this thing's already in and around the area where it would break. So it could be that on the next text lower, if that doesn't hold, it breaks down. On the next step higher, it'll break up. That might be the place you're looking for something to happen. That doesn't match up with the fib-based time zones, but the fib-based time zone from within the formation might be this. Might instead be the actual low, would be the actual low to the actual high. And now you've got another couple of areas within this formation where it might happen. So not having happened yet isn't the be all and end all. You've still got another couple of hours for it to happen, or tomorrow. If this formation doesn't break by the end of day today, then you would expect a big break. You would expect a big break. on that line, because the breakout would be confluent with the fib-based time zone. The measured move from within the formation, if it happens in and around there, might take the price to 29.15 or so, top side, and if it breaks down, borrow this guy, drop him on the bottom. Test lower could be in at around 1860, 1870, those sort of levels. And then you get an idea of the liquidity within this formation expressed when price breaks out, which might be what we're looking at happening there. Might be, sir, might be. This is an interesting show, isn't it? A lot of different things happen here. You know, we make chips, ramen, put it all together and turn it into a cheeseburger. We talk about bonds, ETFs, leverage products that'll help you exploit them. We talk about chart formations like inverted V tops, how to trade them. The implications for extra shares being available to borrow. Larry Cheng's tweets deep dive into what they mean in context and the scheduling of them and the implications of Larry's background and education. We intervene in chat box conversations to create harmony, not to upset people. Incompetent, my good fellow. I used to work in a restaurant and the music was still kept to a reasonable level in the kitchen, there being fannies. Yes, Eric, they are silly. They're very silly. Well, it's more than reasonable now. Kenny Flash Lambo. If they don't pipe down, sling some cockroaches in there. Cockroaches. Yeah, you can buy them on the old Amazon or eBay, right? Little packets. And then they get delivered in a box in an envelope. And then you can just slot it under the door. And then you can phone the same people who work in the same office that the noise pollution team did. So they're just that far away. And they can come and see that there's cockroaches in the kitchen. And then they shut the place down. That wouldn't be what I would do, but some people would. I would just phone the noise people again. And then they get a noise prohibition order. And then they have to keep working. Which doesn't bother me. But they have to do it without music, which would bother them. Plus that's me sticking to the rules rather than abusing them, which I would sleep better with. We will talk to James' manager and her name is Coco. We will get the best meal you ever had. On me. That sounds very, very nice. Where are we going, Bobby? Lipson since the move. Well, nothing's really happened here. I talked about Lipson on the, was it the earlier stream or was it this one? You know, you're looking at this Gartley harmonic and you've not really got the full test of the D to the 886 retracement, you know, overall. You've not actually got that yet. So price testing higher but not breaking the C point, which is at 0.74, means that you're likely talking about 0.5, 0.49. The way that you would manage this is with an entry beyond the X, so, or sorry, a stop beyond the X, so you have to work that risk into your reward to make it a worthwhile trade, and then have an edge that worked out over time. So it's very speculative at the minute, but if it comes back here, that'd be the sort of thing you'd look to. This red horizontal might be the ideal place, should it retrace back below that previous low. A lot of volatility in these moves. Little gap to the top side here, tiny time frames. Could well be that's what you're thinking. I didn't explain to those people who came, though I should have, that there's a flood, that's why there are holes in the floor. I suppose they didn't want to ask because they're too polite. Maybe they think it's normal that I live this way. Holes in the floor. Huge holes in the floor. They've had to have stepped over them too, but I didn't notice because I was a little stressed. Bacon pancakes, $5. Thank you very much, sir. Get good. Get good. Get gup, get good. Get something. I'm getting something from that. Thank you very much, Mr. Bacon Pancakes with the $5. I appreciate that, sir. It's appreciated, sir. Very good of you, sir. Oh, I see more messages on this bit because I'm on the actual platform for streaming. So, says Bobby. Can we cover Lipson since the move? That was banana pancakes. Get gup. Ah, see, you were talking about Lipson with the get gup. Thank you very much for the $5. It's a lot of Lipson in that $5. You could get nearly a whole 10 of them. Thank you, appreciate that. Trisbon, are you planning on streaming Larry Chang tonight? It's Chang and Danny, yeah. Danny Roy. Oh, Danny Roy. The pipes are cool in Danny Roy. Yeah. Is it in now or is it in an hour? Orbital. When I told everyone I was going to be a comedian, they all laughed. They're not laughing now. Yeah. Good old Mr. Monkhouse. I can hear it in Toronto. The music's so loud. I can hear it in the States. I should have showed them that. When I pointed out that I was live on YouTube, the nice chap Andrew was like, "Oh, sugar," you know, didn't want to be on camera. I'm sure he didn't know the context of the show, so totally understandable. Bobby talking about Arbery. So does anyone know if it's 8 o'clock my time, 9 o'clock my time, which would be now New York time, or in an hour New York time? It's one of the two, right, for Larry's stream. I don't think it is GameStop related, but we can check, right? We can tune in and check. He's being interviewed by somebody from one of his own companies, so it's not necessarily somebody picking the most pertinent question. The biggest move on lumber this year, Rocky called earlier in the year on his stream. We were talking about lumber, commodities like palladium and stuff like that were also included. 2 hours from now. An hour after market close. An hour after market close. Poker Baby in the house. Hello, Poker Baby. Good to see you. Vic Vince tipped $10. Oh, that was 3 days ago. Sorry. I'm just reading that thing scrolling down. Tony, thanks very much, Tony, who donated 19 hours ago. And we answered Bobby's question. Sorry, Tony's question at the start of the conversation there. At the start of the very first video. And at the start of the second one, we answered Moonlander. True, you sent it on Discord. Is that a link? There's an Ichiro. That's an Ichiro showing pictures, stills from the TV, where he's obviously got himself on the television in the crowd from a recent football match, I expect in the Copa America, where he's been shouting at the referee. Pretty funny stuff. Let me try and share this on the screen because it's kind of funny. That's Streamlabs, that's not Discord. Come on, Discord, where are you? Staff now have to whistle because they don't have their music. Look, an Ichiro. That's an Ichiro with the hat on, white t-shirt. This is the referee. Good man, Ichiro. Stick it to him. That's actually a compliment if you missed it. I missed a compliment. Maybe you could be a logger. Logging is the material for all your houses. Very important business. I read that one. What was I miss? Very hard work too, but humbling, let's say that. That's a compliment if you missed it. I did miss it. I still missed it somehow, even reading it, but I appreciate that that's what you're trying to do. Thank you very much. For a beast block, sorry for the friction. It's okay. We'll do my best to cease using the absolutes I love so well. They are not easily absorbed and indeed most likely rude cheers. It's just everybody has a very particular communication style, you know, and it reflects well on us as a community if people come into the chat box and get along with each other. So it's on everybody to do that and not to take offence and to try and see the good in what's being asked. So it's positive if you're all getting along and it's never any one person's fault, because you're in a chat box on YouTube, there's no real need to fall out and no need to be upset with anyone. So it's positive when you're friendly with each other, that's for sure. This has come down to a support line, bounced off it a few times, got its volume at it. You know, there's very little volume other than buying volume on this thing at the moment. So it's the weight of its own price action takes it down. Important horizontal here. I mean, imagine it wouldn't break on the very first pass. Price rarely travels in a straight line. Price doesn't make straight lines. Directly quoting Prometheus. Lipson down 6.5%, Nvidia's down 5.12%, which I suppose will scare recent Nvidia investors. Bitcoin testing that level. Looking left is an important horizontal. On to the daily, maybe you'd call that a double top. Maybe you'd look at it and think it's potentially Wyckoff distribution. Till such times as it starts making lower lows or lower highs, you can't really say that. And without a lower low, you don't really have a lower high, so you've just got, you know, without a lower low, you've just got the most recent high in your sequence. So I wouldn't be able to confirm it as Wyckoff yet, though it's very similar. It could just keep going sideways. Though a lot of people will be looking at it with a Gestalt impression from double tops, thinking something like this is coming. Say that'd be extremely dramatic, but oh look, there's an important horizontal. But is that a gap? No. But I have got myself a clear warning here. Clear warning in there that this is the potential breakdown range, and to see it put 43 in the distance in the rear view mirror, you would want to see price back above 84 and change, and that would defeat this idea of Wyckoff here, which would be relevant if you're looking for longer term trades on Bitcoin and you were thinking, well, where is the opportunity to get in at if it does break down and get really, really cheap? Got this trend line here, 1 touch, 2 touches here, so that makes it 3, so it's valid. And then if price was to touch it again, it probably wouldn't break on the first pass. And that comes in that diagonal with this horizontal that we also think is important because of the fair value gap. Around 44, you've also got the 86 at 41, so if it was to break down out of this formation right now, the best value potentially could be in around here. Don't need to draw a box, I can just use these magic boxes. Trading views come a long way, a long way. You know, you could be looking at this, and that would be a big discount. And there's the prior low. In terms of an entry zone, you would want your stop beyond that important low here. But just for where price might test, illustrative purposes only, that makes sense, that sort of area. Take that out of the picture and stick on a fib based time zone, take it from this low to this high, and see that that breakdown might happen today. On the 4 hour, oh, that's it touching its peak. This could be the start of that move then. Downward price action subsequently from going through this fib based time zone vertical line sort of leaves it with the impression that that might be the direction for this phase of price. You would look for price then to defeat that narrative by breaking the current formation in the opposite direction. That's downward sloping channel. I've got it drawn on here, probably on a smaller time frame. Drop down to 30 minutes and see it, maybe even smaller still. You would like for it now price to break back above 65, and then to defeat the fake out area it would need to be back above 66.5, probably looking to around 68 in truth, at which point there's a number of important targets it may hit. From that point onwards it would look very positive, and people would start to think it had defeated that bearish narrative. It would be pushing higher than that's taking it from this high to this low. You've got your 236 at 60,000 price at that area at the minute. Holds a 236 and bounces to the upside, defeating the 50% at 64.8, golden pocket at 67, 86 at 72. That's what you'd be looking for. You know, Bitcoin to push back above 64.8, 69, sorry, 64.9, that sort of area. Then take out 67.5, at which point you'd be talking about targets of 72, which is like another 10% move. And it may well be then that, you know, if you were looking for a trade, it would be that 67 area. Stop loss could be straight just there out of the bullish control zone. Target, if you're targeting 72, you can make that work with a 3 to 1, nearly 4 to 1 risk reward ratio. You can certainly make that work, right? And you could follow it with a stop. You know, you could take your stop up depending on the nature of the way price evolved. For example, price, should it break out of this and make it into this area, then say for example price went something like this, you know, you would maybe perhaps entering in around this zone, watching price take this resistance level and then find support here before price continues up to put in a new high. And when price did do that, you'd be able to put your stop, move it from currently here, you'd be able to move it to here, just behind the most recent pullback. At which point you may be in a long-term trade for Bitcoin, and you could be a weekly, monthly trader, or whatever it was, those sort of things that Bobby was talking about. Depends on your trading strategy as opposed to your goals, because of course we can't control price, and we're not going to hold things for months just to call ourselves monthly traders. You know, at that point you've made a couple of percent, which isn't to be sniffed at. If the trade kept evolving and you got this low, you could move your stop up here, at which point you'd have made 5.5%, not to be sniffed at again, and you'd have been protecting your capital and profit as price hopefully went on. And that's how you let your winners run. So, more tips on a brilliant show again. Oh, pardon me. Thank you very much for being here, Eric. Appreciate you always, buddy. Jimmy, a bit of a random one. Could you look at DJT, please? I've got videos on DJT. I said where it was going topside. People made some money on that. Other people didn't, because, you know, a lot of the people that are inclined to trade DJT do it and will hold rather than take profits. And then I talked about the potential breakdown, where it would go to. Oops. 41, I think we said was the. No, where was it? Well, we're not going to get it on the 15th second. Well, we got it right to the line. Look at these lines. Look at these lines. Came down, tested right on it, bounced back up again. You should be able to find these videos on my channel that discuss DJT. Give you a little bit of context there. It's a difficult one to cover because a lot of the audience would have, you know, their own politics and view this as a vehicle for raising money for the opposition. So, well, I don't obviously think along those terms. I'm aware that other people would, and so I don't tend to cover it on the regular, but I did cover it before, and there is some help for you in those past videos. I mean, if you want to hear about how it's going down and so on, then that's also, some people want to hear that, and that offends everybody who's pro the other side. So we tend to not talk about it too much. GME currently finding resistance at these levels, as the trend line dictates. Lower high, lower low, downtrend, and continuation may be then. Oops, lock that up. Lock it down, and then this guy's a bit of a broadening wedge. Broadening wedge. Could break, could be fine. Makes me think you have what it takes to log. I have a friend who is an arborer. Not a logger, but an arborer. Logs are big heavy things, aren't they, Bobby? I thought you were a butcher. I thought you were getting a mic. Yo, the man. I shall have it tomorrow. Thanks, bro. We should put politics aside. It's money. It is. It's also a community, though, and YouTube. And there's so many stocks in the world. We should just trade something else, right? I mean, if you want to trade DJT, I have covered it well on previous videos. And they are there available to find on my channel. If you go to my channel and in the search box and type in DJT, then you'll find it for sure. Lisa's fantastic and writes chapters, so she'll have mentioned in the video description DJT, and so it's returned when you search on my channel for DJT, and then you'll get the answer you want. But you're right in that if everything like that could be put aside, then we would talk about it and that would be good. But a lot of people don't know me all that well, even as well as yourself, Ashimania. So, was I calling you Alessandro? Ashimania. Ashmania. So a lot of people don't know me as you do, you know, and they would be feverish, jumping at the bit. Steve Guzin, what do you think of Mligo? Can you do analysis on Mligo? I've already talked about how to trade Miglo twice today. Low market cap, opened with a gap, a lot of volume pushing it to the top side. People on Discord discussing it this morning as the markets opened. That was the time to be in it, because it's that sort of a trade. You trade it from market open because there is a gap and it's got high volume and it is a low market cap, and then you follow the trade with a stop, and if it keeps going and doesn't come back dramatically, then you capture more and more and more. Eventually you get taken out. You don't aim for the absolute top, you hope to get taken out at some point. And that's how you trade these stocks. If you're looking for those stocks, best place then, best time, in the morning on Discord, chatting to other traders. Discord.gg/RockyOutcrop. Alright, yes man, yeah. Watching them after the stream. That man, you're right, I should have had the mic, but Saturday night we did a really long take on LPSN for hours and hours. And then Sunday I was with Rocky and we did, I can't remember, I was up till 5 AM last night. Why was that? Was it working on something else here? I don't know. I've had a headache all day too, so I've had a headache for 3 weeks. And I've been tired since primary 7, so I can't remember what I did on Sunday, but these things made it so that I couldn't get those wires that I needed. I'll endeavour to have them for tomorrow. That man. I'm aware at this most popular part of the channel's history, at this crucial juncture for me on YouTube, that it would be ideal if I had a house without holes in the floor, a proper camera, a microphone that worked so that people could hear me, adverts didn't put them off, and so on. And the most crucial part of YouTube is actually the audio, right, compared to the video. People are much more frustrated by poor audio than they would be by low resolution graphics. So I understand that it's not in my best interest to have a poorly performing mic. I don't do it on purpose. I would be eager to have that fixed, and it will be soon. Apologies that I haven't managed to get it there yet. Bear with me. Elsie's live stream changed to 7, so 5 o'clock Eastern time. Yes, it was 5 o'clock Eastern time. That was the time. That was the time. What was it before? I always thought it was 5 o'clock Eastern time, which I would have thought was 9 PM our time at market close. I'll just triple check that. 10 o'clock. It's 10 o'clock in the UK. Dana, that's not even funny. I don't know why I laughed at it. Audio is okay, says Vic Vince. That's being nice. Being nice. Thank you very much, Mr. Vic Vince. He's a very nice man. How did your potatoes go, Vic? The walls, paper thin walls. It's damn floors, damn floors, damn floors, damn holes in the floors. I would love it if you got a new mic. Off-Grid Games. I've got a brilliant mic, I just need the wires, you see. It's just the wires. Here is this mic. Whoops. Here's this mic here. See, it's a Shure SM7B thingamajigamy. Whatever it is. It's not that one, it's the good one for the YouTubers. The best one you can get. Taylor Swift will record her music on it. It's the greatest mic going, you know, even greats like Taylor Swift. But not having the wire means I can't get it into this MacBook. Can't get it into this MacBook. And I don't have the desktop because it's soaking wet, so broke. So I do have this MacBook, and thank God I do. And touch wood, touch hairy wood, it doesn't break. But it doesn't have the number of USB slots that these things used to have, you know, so it's got a smaller USB tiny, whatever they're called, USB tiny. So I need a converter thingy, which is at Rocky's. So I shall get that this evening. Well, I won't be able to get it this evening because Rocky was also up late, so instead I'll get it tomorrow morning, I think, before the show. Washed the potatoes, took a sandwich, and TA'd instead. I think you're too honest. You're too honest. What's your best LPSN video to watch to understand the situation? All of them? I linked the LPSN memes on the TradeSpotting subreddit there in case there's any problems with them on YouTube. You'll always be able to access those links there. It does take you back to YouTube, so it would be a navigation issue it solves initially, but under each of those links for each of those videos I can reply with the video itself. But I was doing it this morning, or like when the markets were opening, you know, and it was taking me like an hour and a half into it. I thought I'll just keep going and finish this now, even though it's not the best use of my time at this moment in time, because stopping and starting it's difficult. So I'll just finish it, get the job done, you know, and then move on to the next one. Keep a clean head, get those tasks out of the way, and if any of them do become restricted in your area, like for example if you click on the subreddit link and it won't play because it said it's still not available in your area, then, which is very possible because some of them have been blocked in America, I'm sure, I just, you know, so if that is the case, then I'll certainly get round to it, I'll certainly do it, I'll certainly will get round to it, putting them up on you on Reddit directly so that you can access them there. But I'd be reticent to do that without it being a direct help to somebody, because at that point they can then be, you know, accessed by people who are not coming to my YouTube channel, and I like to block people who I don't like, and I don't want them making money off LPSN. I also know that there's plenty of people who don't like me, and they'll they'll just be wanting to make. They will not like to see me accelerate over the horizon. They won't want to see me like giddying away on my horse. Howdy, partner. So they'll just trade lips in two. And so I do like to keep it to people who turn up at the YouTube channel, I have not fallen out with, and see how it goes. But the best video to understand the Lipsin situation would be, well, there's a number of them. There's a Lipsin subreddit too, you know. That lovely gentleman KT was in the chat box earlier, who I perhaps chastised a little. I mean, I didn't perhaps, I definitely did. But he took it on the chin. He's very good that way. I appreciate it, because I myself have a very direct communication style sometimes too. So I appreciate that, KT, when you come back from Waking a Beast. If you see this, thank you very much. What was the point in talking about there? Oh, he's keeping a Facebook group updated. Other people are keeping the Lipsin subreddit updated. Shout out, Maya-san. I see you helping over there. It's very much appreciated. Very, very much. And people sharing videos here, there, and the next place. The Lipsin subreddit, it's got some good clips on there of me talking about TA and explaining the situation. The situation generally is quite clear, and most people in GameStop should be aware of it but aren't. And trying to communicate this is anathema to them, because they don't want to hear about any other stock, because they think it dilutes the buying power. What they don't seem to realise is that this is a community of thousands and tens of thousands of traders. So collectively we've got millions and millions of dollars, and we'll do whatever the fuck we want. Right, we don't really care what some 14-year-old on Reddit is shouting about, or his two 19-year-old mates are shouting about either. No offense if you're 19, but none of us care. So really, when those conversations start, we just generally leave and don't chat about it. So it makes it difficult to have the conversation with the wider community, but they would need to know, because they're trying to do particular things which are not going to be possible, not through any fault of their own, but because their hands are tied. Their hands are tied because Citadel dovetail and work with GTS, who are the other large market maker. And I say the other because between the two, Citadel and GTS, there is no other significant player. Sure, Wolverine do the options on GME, right? Very good. They don't have that much liquidity. They're not a serious player. They're small fry. They're not important. They can't do anything to even this trading community. Wolverine couldn't impact your trades. So sure, they could not deliver them, right? Which maybe that's, you know, was somebody's idea not so long ago, but that didn't play out quite that way. And they're not a big player. They're not someone to worry about. GTS, on the other hand, control 31% of all direct market maker seats, all designated market seats. 31% belong to them. The only other player with any significant amount is Citadel, who 41%. Citadel run a directional hedge fund, so catch a lot of flack, but GTS run strategic funds. And so with that different name, and with their black boxed quant algorithms, you don't know if they're actually taking directional trades or not. And I can tell you they are. And I can tell you that because of that fund, and because of the way Citadel's directional fund works, that they work together to dovetail against retail capture liquidity. And the only way to defeat them, and the only way to beat any enemy who sits on all of the direct market maker seats and controls a monopoly, is to trick them at their own game, because they know the future. They can see the option chain. They can see it. They are the ones responsible for the bid auction when prices are halted. They're the people who therefore have the easiest ability to push prices where they want during volatile periods. And part of the way they do that is by relying on each other. So the only way that GameStop will do what the many of the investors want, which is completely gate crash the markets, and affect those entities in particular, if they're like me and they really do want to change things, then is by having a vector of attack on these other participants. And the best vector is one that's cheap, that's deep value, that's going to go up anyway, that's got new management, it's got a new activist hedge fund, sorry, not fund, activist fund, like RC Ventures, and in this instance we've got one too. You want to see not an overly geared company. You want to see remuneration on the board that matches the goals of the shareholders, so that everybody's aligned. And some people would say Ranko not taking a salary means that he's incentivized to increase the share capital, and so that he would make money. But that's only possible if he's selling his stake. Remember that. Whereas Jim, the new CEO over at LivePerson, he has a compensation package, and it's shares, not cash, and those shares become his, and he's rewarded with them when the share price of LPSN reaches, what do you think? $1? No, he doesn't get his money. 150? Nope, he doesn't get his money. All the way up here at 450? Nope, he doesn't get his money. Up at this area of liquidity, 662? Nope, he doesn't get his money. Up here at $8. $8. That's where the new CEO will get paid, when LPSN gets to $8, right? Now this guy's not a joker who's signed a silly contract because he doesn't know what he's talking about. He took VMware to, it's the COO, he took VMware up. They achieved a $69 billion valuation and were bought by Broadcom. You'll have heard of Broadcom, one of the world's biggest companies, probably the most famous in the last few years for M&A activity, and serious group of people. So he himself is a very skilled, talented individual, and he took the job on because of the opportunity presented him, which is a huge one, and the same opportunity is available for you, only he has to work at it 24/7 to get his shares. He gets his 500,000 shares when it gets to 8, and then he gets another 500,000 when it gets to 12 bucks. So from here to there, their CEO, he gets paid, and your objectives as a shareholder now might like Ryan Cohen's plan. I'm not arguing against it, of course. I think he's fantastic, but this might be even better. And so let's say you're getting it from, where is it now, 0.58, so it's not even on the screen, so here, somewhere around these prices, to $8. You'll get paid when it goes up 1,275%. He'll get paid the rest of his salary when it goes to $12, up 1,900, so basically 2,000%. It has to go up 2,000% for him to actually get to be able to vest those shares and get the compensation for being the CEO. And to my mind, I don't know what anyone else thinks, but to my mind, that's aligning yourself with your shareholders. That's legendary stuff. There's also a gap here, which probably goes to closes. Anyway, the point is, don't trade as I trade. I have a very high risk trading strategy. It's likely not appropriate for most traders. It's very, very dangerous. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. Nor would I think that you should trade like LPSN. It's a real battle stock. It's not for the faint-hearted. It's not easy, though it's very funny and very enjoyable. It's not easy. It's the sort of trade that really makes a difference, but it's not for everyone. And my approach to price that you should follow, and you know, if you've watched for a while, you'll know who I am, right? I'm Portia, and I'm in the Merchant of Venice, and I'm Portia, and you should do as I say, not as I do. And in this instance, that's 100% true. You shouldn't do what I do. And what I do is take the bastards on at their own game. And I'm just I'm just little Trace Bond, a poor porridge eater from Scotland. So it's very difficult, and the idea that I would win is very, very unusual, and most people wouldn't even give it the time of day. So you don't want to join in with what I'm doing there. That makes sense. If you don't want to, no problem, and I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. But I'm taking it up, not to 8, not to 12. Which would just be a golden pocket retracement, and it likely does get there if it closes above 147, even if it does then later have retracements. It does probably close that gap, which takes it above the 50% retracement, and then it does probably get the golden pocket up to around $12, and Jim will get his money. I'll make fucking sure of it, but it probably doesn't even stop at an 886 from the overall breakdown. I'm taking this thing to 69 bucks. I'm taking it up to 69 bucks. And that's climbing the highest mountain. And it's starting at the very bottom, and everything's coming downhill at you. And when I say everything, I mean the most powerful forces in the market. And you do not have the buffer and the moat of hundreds of thousands of other GameStop shareholders to protect you. You don't have super stonk. 3 years of people overly committed. You don't have that. What you've got is TradeSpot. So I don't recommend it. Hey, Badder. I wonder what that is. I also did a stream this morning and YouTube just cut it. YouTube just cut it. I got a warning about profanity, which is like unusual anyway. I've had one before, but it's unusual, and I think it's a manual trigger, like people clicking like, I hate TradeSpot and I hate him, and something like that. And then you get a warning, and then eventually it just either turns your stream off and it goes black for the viewers, or it just shuts it off completely, like it did this morning. And instantly I thought, oh, that's someone I've offended. But shortly after, my computer started going all weird. So who knows what it was actually causing it. It's ambiguous. But I wouldn't be surprised, Badger. I wouldn't be surprised. Like, I've tried subscribing to my own channel as like my GME profile, and not subscribing to anyone else, and turn on notifications, and turn it on my phone, and turning it on the app. Exactly as the YouTube guide says. And I've not got the notifications sometimes. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. And I don't know why it is. So, I don't know. But then plenty of people do get the notifications. I have no idea why it is, and I don't know what to do about it, because I did everything that they suggest. I even have I had a guy, the YouTube guy you get, because this is like in terms of the amount of people who watch live shows from the start till the end. This is one of the better channels on YouTube for it. Shout out us. YouTube's a big platform. And even he said, I don't know what that is, let's check it out, let's see this, have you done that, have you done next, and did it all. And he's like, I don't know, maybe I'll just get back to you. And he never did get back to me about that. Why can see Jamie in a year? Hello, Grant. How you doing, there, Grant? Jamie, I just keep searching and looking around until I find your streams. If you go to my channel, and then you go, even then it's not necessarily possible, you click on my logo, if I'm live, it'll take you to the live stream. I mean, if you follow the logic through, right, you could just chuck me off, and then they don't need to stop finning around with blocking notifications or hiding live streams and so on. But it is a problem. There's definitely something up. And like last time GME squeezed, it was the same problem. It was the same problem so much so that the only way around it was for me to create a game with the audience and say, I have hid the video, and then I would make it a link to someone else's video right at the end. And sometimes it was people that didn't even know me. Other times it was people like Rocky, or it was like somewhere else on the internet you would be able to go to get that link, which would then take you and drop you in a live stream. And I made it a game like, you have to find my channel, da da da, ha ha ha, which was a humorous way of dealing with an impossible problem. I don't know why it does that. I don't tell people to F off that often, so who knows? Who knows? Definitely interesting, eh? Definitely interesting. I'm sure eventually there'll be some leak where you'll find out, like, oh, there was this thing happening, they were doing certain things to some channels. And you'll be like, that was definitely happening in Tracepot, and that's exactly what it was. Look, blah, 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 that, da, 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 da. Look at that, and that. You'll see it. Whatever it is, it might take a year, it might take 5, but somebody will either expose all the GitHub details for YouTube live stream notifications, or they'll go on to some public forum and paste in some code and ask them what's wrong with it or something, and everyone will be like, oh my god, you're just giving us away all the Google YouTube algorithm. And then they'll read it and they'll say, look, there it is, there's what they were doing, they told us they didn't do that, but now look, we can see they did. Discord alert streams are much more dependable. Yes, that's the solution we've got now, is that you sign up for the Discord, free side of Discord, you click on that room YouTube links, and you subscribe to Rocky, or you subscribe to me, like on that notifications thing that you get in there, and you'll get notifications from Discord sent to your phone when I'm live, and Discord picks up on when I'm live, all but like 1 in 100 times. And the only reason it doesn't ever do that is because of the scheduling of streams confuses it sometimes. But that's the fail-safe, that's the fool-proof way of doing it. Is thanks very much for those hearts there, appreciate it. The way you do it is get on there, click that subscribe on the Discord, and then you'll always get notifications from Discord. Even if you get them from YouTube, that'll make sure of it. Jimmy, keep searching. Tracebot, what time frame are you expecting for LPSN? What are you hoping for this year? Hello, Katie. How you doing, Katie? People often think it's a fair question when I say, well, I don't trade the X timeline. They say, okay, well, what about in a year? And it's like, well, that's still on the X timeline, right? Like, if the question is option contracts, which ones? Then the only reason that would be relevant is because you're trying to buy something that's not currently in the money, and you're hoping it would be in the money to provide those asymmetric returns. Because leverage, is built in with option contracts, you'd be looking for those huge returns in monies. And my response would be, that's not the way to buy options on LPSN. It's not financial advice, and I don't advise you to buy them at all. Don't even trade the stock. But if you are doing it, you would look for strikes that are already in the money. You would look for the expiries that are as far out as possible, and should price rise up to significantly higher levels, then you can take advantage of your right to buy them at cheaper prices because you own these strikes and you could exercise. So it would be a way of acquiring cheaper shares should a bull trend emerge, and that's a huge insurance policy, to be able to keep buying at these prices in future even if the price goes up. And for that huge advantage, you pay the premium, which is directly related to the implied volatility, which is partly due to the time value of those contracts, which is speaking to the expiry as far out as possible. So I'd be looking for 50-cent strikes, and I'd be looking for January being it now, isn't it? I think January is now the furthest out you can get. Previously it was 6 months, so it's pretty tight. And because there's not much way to manage that x-axis, and those contracts then lose in time decay quite rapidly, I would say that that's no surprise that GTS, the options designated market maker, and the designated market maker for the shares, right? See how that's probably less than ideal. That means they can see everything you're doing. They know all ahead of you do what your trades are going to do when they hit the market, and they've already got algorithms prepared for you arriving. So it's very, very difficult. And anything you give them in liquidity, they'll take. And that's why I would say play it as safe as you possibly can. Look to invest in shares as much as you possibly could. And then if it goes up to 8 and 12, 20, 35, 40, 50, 60, 69. You'll be making thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of percent on your trade, and you will not mind if you bought shares or options at that point. You will bless the ground that Spotta walks on, and you'll be at the big meetup with everybody else who had a great time in Lipson. But if you just put it into option contracts and keep losing your money, then you'll be fed up with this play shortly. And that's exactly what GTS are expecting and hoping, because they've got the meme stock traders, right, rabbit ears, they've got them boxed in. They know exactly who you are, and they know exactly how to trade against you. And they know, right, and they work in tandem with Barclays, who've got a volatility desk that controls prices a lot during the day. They work dovetail with Citadel, who control other sides of the market, and they themselves sit on the designated market seat for options and shares. So there's only one way you can beat these guys. And obviously I can't say that on the internet, because they'll just plug these holes. So what we'll do is we'll drive a wedge into that hole, we'll tear it open, we'll climb inside it, and then we'll explode their head from inside. What do you believe is a good value for GME at the moment? Hello, the man. Well, all of these things depend on your trading setup, your goals, and so on. This thing's in a downward sloping broadening wedge. This is a fake out here at $23 from this this symmetrical triangle. Make it more obvious there. This guy. See, price previously tested this area here at the most recent low. So it may well be that you're looking for that lower low, that higher low, pardon me, to be exceeded as a lower low before you become bearish on GameStop. Testing that area is where price is very close to at the minute, hence why I've got a potential trade setup drawn on this area. And so I would say that this is likely in and around the area where you want to get in, 23 bucks, if you're managing your risk in at around 22. And while I don't trade the x-axis, I have got a fib-based time zone on that suggests that when you drop down to, say, 15 minutes here, you can see that there's one area in and around the apex of the formation you're in at the minute, not that wedge, but this tightening wedge, not the broadening wedge, but this tightening one here on the 15 minutes, which itself is, encompasses that broadening wedge with the downward sloping green line, this downward sloping red line is support. Price is trapped within that little segment. You could imagine if it drops out and falls back in again, right? You don't want to get taken out of your trade, so maybe your stop slightly further away than that. Probably would be. You could afford it to be much better. Take it to a 5-to-1 or something. It's about there. Close enough. So that's 5.61 to 1 risk reward ratio. And you'd be looking to take this thing back towards 29.99, 29 something. Probably just 30 bucks, right? But where is the line? There's a horizontal line here that's useful. This guy at 30 spot 14. It might be looking to take it back there, which wouldn't break market structure. It would be a test of that of that symmetrical triangle that price fell out of. And if it's going to break down, it may be, even if it is going to break down, it could very likely retest this area. So I'm not banking on it going further than that yet. But you might look to that as your entry because of these previous lows. You would manage your risk beyond that so that you still had a significant risk reward ratio and could apply an edge that would work out over time. And you would use that as your take profit target to calculate that risk reward ratio so that you could apply the appropriate edge. And if the circumstances prevail, then you could take the trade. Those circumstances would be dependent on your risk profile, your trading style, and your current position, your financial capabilities, plus your own skill with regards to the charts. So all of those things make it so that I can't give you an exact answer that's appropriate to your portfolio, nor would I, because it's not ethical to give financial advice to people in that way. But that's how I might approach drawing a framework around price to manage my risk and have a strategic approach to getting in. So if you were just looking for a dollar value, I suppose I could have given that, but you got that plus a whole lot extra, friend. Think about being more of the show. Think about being more of the show. I'm holding. What's an exit strategy? They've got prices below DFV's cost basis. We'll see for how long. We'll see how long. We'll see. How LPSN CEO will get paid was great additional info. Yes, I know it's a risky pay, but that says a lot about his determination or stupidity. Rod Bigelow, Mr. our resident gigolo, does says a lot about his approach, his beliefs. You know, I think that he's obviously saying he's willing to put his reputation on the line. That goes without question. He's already done it. It goes to say that he's also saying, I believe in myself, I believe in this company, I think we can do it, I'll take that deal, right? That deal at those prices, I'll take it. And he's no pushover, this guy, right? Army captain, works out all the time, good family man. You know, he's got a strong work ethic. If you know, the more you know about him, the more impressed you are with him. He's a properly serious individual. He doesn't mess around. He's so very, very strong in his decision making. He makes a decision, he sticks with it. And I contextually learned that, like looking into more and more things. You know, he's a very, very strong work ethic. He's a very, very strong moral core. And he's a soldier. And a leader. So each make your own mind up. GameStop. This not quite testing the lows of the formation. 3 minutes left on the price action today. There's people slapping the ass, people buying those shares, people closing out at the end of the day, more people buying. Not bad, not bad. LPSN managed to hold that support so far. Could well come back and test these lower levels. Isn't quite yet trending to the top side and hasn't had that huge breakout yet. So that's not to say that there aren't people just buying it at the end of the day. And these people buying it at the end of the day, they have a very particular strategy and it's a good idea. And maybe we'll talk about that more some other time. But it dovetails in with some of the other things I'm thinking. So I'm not going to talk about it right now. But there is a little thing they're doing there, those people, with their GameStop buying it right at the end of the day, which is pretty interesting. 2 minutes left on price action. What have I missed in the chat box? In the chat box, the boys and the girls in the chat box. That answer was much better than what, Katie? Nope, gave me exactly what I was asking for. I've been doing options, been doing $22 and $30 based on the premiums. Good work, the man. Price back above his cost basis now. Luke Spears, no fears. He was right. Luke Spears was right. Shout out, Luke, you got it right there. Hoping you all had a wonderful Monday. We had a good Monday. I think it was alright. I got some more LPSN under 60. That is positive. Good work, no doubt. Cash doesn't mean much if you don't use it right. Good story. Do you trust him? Do you trust him? Well, I don't know him, but I trust myself to make the right decision, and the factors that I'd make a decision on about a leadership team. Yeah, I think like I would be bullish on Jim, and I am bullish on Jim, and I'm invested in Jim, and I'm going to invest more in Jim. Every Friday, every day I can before a stream, I'll do something on limit orders, and then on Friday what didn't get taken on the limit orders gets slapped in there, market buys. And I have a approach to price that's maybe not completely explicit here on the show. Talking about it sometimes, and the role of a stock operator and how that person would operate on the markets depending on their objectives. And that's how I do it. So more the same this week, and the next, and the next, and the next, and the next, and every single week. If it takes me buying the whole thing, then that's what happens. I believe in the product. I think it's a great idea. I've got good ideas for what it could do in the future. The technology is fantastic. Their debt isn't all that big a problem, and you know, I've got my opinions. TradeSpot, when did you first identify LPSN as a good opportunity? With my top secret team in the back cave. In the back cave. In the back cave. With my top secret team in the back cave. Curious to hear about the last minute buy trick. TradeSpot, when did you first? I got to that one from Arzan and Marcus. What F is going on with GME last couple of minutes every day? This green candle. Yeah, it's the thing they're doing. In the Batcave. Is the Batcave currently flooded as well? Yeah. Yeah, it's clearly flooded too. In the Batcave. In the Batcave with my top secret team. In the flooded Batcave. It's totally flooded down there in the Batcave. Amazingly, nobody tuned out when I was singing there. That's crazy. Probably because the mic doesn't work and you can't properly hear me. Boom. Moonlanders. Bye, puking. Puking? There it is. The markets are closed. Markets are closed. It's come down. It's tested that horizontal. Yo, golden pocket. Lost 236. This was it. This was it. Did it. Did you see that earlier, Moonlander? We were chatting about. I'm not sure if I think maybe I got to the SPY stuff separately from my answer to V inverted V chat. I can't quite remember, but I think looking back I might have done, in which case you might not have caught it. Anyway, you seemed to were correct in your assessment, more or less, at least from what I understood it to be, and has come back and tested these areas. So far, so good. Congratulations, sir. Obviously, all of this in the context is still in an uptrend, but the question was, is price consolidating here? You know, it's put in a higher high, and it's not put in lower lows. But then it did put one in here, having questionable this high here, very questionable. What with the fact that it got rejected here at the bullish control zone. So that's the chat. There's also news articles now. News articles explaining it all. Bitcoin lost 60,000 at 59.4. US markets ended the day mixed. Micron, Nike, FedEx, Carnival, Walgreens, Boots, and Levi Strauss. Every single one of those tickers are things people in this chat box have made lots and lots of money on. Every single one there. Even Levi's. We even made money on Levi's, right? Nobody fucking gives a shit about Levi's anymore. No one. Right? It's like, you know how people used to think like Harley Davidsons were cool, and then those people died and everyone else grew up, and instead it became associated with older men, older gentlemen. Not so much the young guy kicking back on his Harley being cool as, no, it was more the old dude who thought that was cool was buying them, because they're heavy, got a big fat ass, they're not going to fall over, you don't need to hold it up with your foot, self-stabilizing, good bike. But you know, it's like the caravan of bikes. You know, it's definitely not like the enterprise of bikes. So that's what happened to them. And now Levi's is a similar situation, right? Everyone who wore them and thought they were cool, they're mostly dead. And the next generation of people, they're like, yeah, that's like Levi's, that's cool and all, but I'd rather wear these jeans that are like not them. Whereas older folks, they look and they're like, you know, those Levi's, they used to be cool, right? When I was a kid, whoa, those Levi's, I'm going to get me some of them. I'm going to get me a couple of pairs of Levi's. I'm going to sit in the bath for hours until they actually fit me. I'm going to get my Levi's. And they'll tell you stories about how they used to be made out of hemp. Did you know? Did you know? Yeah, they're so cool. They used to be made out of hemp. And stuff like that. Anyway, even on that, we made money. Crazy, huh? Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. This is SPY. It's the first thing we're going to talk about on this round trip round the markets, where we cover all your important stocks and tell you exactly where price is going. This is rolling over. It's dropped out of important levels of support. It's at a golden pocket, having lost a 236, and if it does go further, the last line of defense is approaching at 5438. 5438 on SPX. It's just the equivalent of SPY, but it looks like it's rolling over. It's moving a little bit down. The broadly speaking, then, the markets are falling down a little bit, and that's interesting for GameStop, it's interesting for LivePerson, and it's also interesting for Bitcoin, which has just lost 60,000, slipped out of this important channel, you see. Now, it's not definitively out of it, it could easily come back, but right now, question marks back above 60,285 or thereabouts would be, give me that, oh, no, would be making a recovery, and if it did, then you'd maybe come back up and test the golden pocket, at which point Bitcoin up at 67,000 could then go on test 72. That's 5 grand, easy 8-10%. That'd be your trade on Bitcoin if you're looking at markets recovering. If not, then you're looking for things that go the opposite direction to the markets, and that's certainly not LPSN today. It's potentially coming back to the harmonic entry point, which would be in around this D, which it's not actually been to yet, so that trade hasn't actually been activated. But when it is, it's starting to look quite good. This is a reversal harmonic, suggests his prices could be turning around. It's the sort of pattern you look for on the charts when you don't have those normal Gestalt, more traditional chart patterns. You could use harmonics, the best of which is a Gartley. It was invented long before the chap who came up with this concept of harmonics, because of course he didn't come up with it, Gartley did when he created this reversal pattern. It's very, very useful, and you might want your stop beyond that X, hence this potential trade setup. LPSN, it's a brilliant idea, it's an amazing company, it's got a fantastic board. The CEO doesn't actually get his shares, don't vest until the thing reaches $8, which we were talking earlier on stream is a huge move in price from where it is at the minute, in around here. It would take it up 1,300%. And then that's only half of his money. The rest of it's activated back when it gets to $12. So again, somewhere in around these levels, here, close enough, up to $12. That's a percentage increase of 2,000% thereabouts. So 2,000%, if the CEO does a good job, which he believes he's going to do, and that is a reversal pattern, and this is turning around, then that represents ridiculous, amazing value. GameStop now, really interesting stuff going on, because this is a tightening wedge. A price action, if it breaks out of it, we'll come back up and test this downward sloping resistance level or this upward sloping support level, which together form a symmetrical triangle, and price has slipped out of it. It slipped out of it, but it hasn't slipped below the previous low from within the formation, which comes in at around $23, which sets up this trade idea here. See it more clearly on the 1 hour time frame. This tightening price action, you've got 3 harmonics in here, an anti-shark, you've got a cipher, and what was the other one he had in here? Also a Gartley? It might be something else. Anyway, you've got 3 different harmonics, each providing resonance and confluence with this potential entry strategy. Now, if it gets there tomorrow or later on this week, there could be a huge move, because we've got a fib-based time zone that suggests that there's going to be a break on this guy tomorrow towards open. There might be a break on this guy, and if it does break to the top side on a fib time zone, could be huge. That happens within the formation here, this tightening wedge. That itself is driving price action down and holding it at the lows. If you approach the apex, that's sort of 75% towards that area. You might then be looking for price to break out, because it becomes obvious to every market participant that it has to move one way or the other. So you'd be keeping an eye on that, because if it does break, it could be huge. The measure move to the top side, $29 and change. Maybe you're taking it to the horizontal at 30. Maybe you're taking it to this diagonal resistance line that was previously support. If it breaks down, you've got a gap below. That'll be closed at 19.69 or thereabouts. Slip any lower, 1850, 1860. That would be the full measure move from the previous formation. And overall, in context, that would probably still be a higher low, but it does put the trend in a lot more ambiguity, which raises a lot of questions for traders. Today on the show, we've also cooked chips. I've had ramen. We turned something that wasn't either of those into a burger. And we did the same with price. Even on these tiny little time frames, we called the oscillations and we spoke to the long-term value across these stocks. We also talked about Larry Cheng's tweets that Rocky Outcrops managed to mine to figure out about the future strategic plans of GameStop, sort of to the level of confidence that it's very difficult to shoot that idea down. Logical, rational, it's all expressed from Larry. You're analysing his background, his degree, understanding how he talks to people, and putting these tweets in schedule to work out how Larry's actually delivering us a message as far as he can do. Larry Cheng being a board member on GameStop's board, one of the leaders then of the company, and also the co-founder of Volition Capital, that venture capital firm that most trusted, invested in Ryan Cohen when he built Chewy as a $1 billion business, that startup Chewy. So he's as close as confident and he knows what's going on, and he's revealed the truth in his tweets. Whether he meant to or not at this stage is moot because it's clearly there. We demonstrated it on the live show. Definitely check that one out. We talked about SPY and how it was going to fall down maybe a little bit with a helpful tip from Moonlander in the chat box. Total legend, shout out to Moonlander. And we talked about long-term bonds and what the implications might be for people trading TLT or the leveraged version of the same that gives you a 3x return on TMF. And that's another massive opportunity for traders because of the potential rate cuts that are coming soon. We discussed how the tax implications would work, that if you held it for long enough you might pay zero capital gains if you're American. Unfortunately, us in Britain don't have that same privilege, but you've got lots of opportunities in these stocks and all across the market right now, despite the fact that if you were to look at the news, it would talk about the market's coming down, there's a mixed bag, that people are a little bit worried. All these things are true. We discussed inflation and how that can help you as a trader understand what's going on in the market. So huge important things happening that aren't immediately obvious when you look at any one stock, especially if your stocks are down. If we go down to the 15-minute time frame, zoom in, turn off price, and make this point. This is a period of consolidation. It's a build-up, right? It's a build-up. And the way Rocky Outcrop says this and explains it to dum-dums who don't believe in technical analysis because they would rather use the gaps between their understandings and stupid, shitty little stories to talk about the potential on price. People who don't understand that what's actually happening in a period of consolidation, if price action's doing that and it's already found support, which in this instance it maybe has done, then it's like fueling up that rocket ship and it's going to go right, T fucking takeoff time coming up, right? So there's your T plus cycle. It's when this thing takes off. If it doesn't find support here at the $23 level, and it is dropping back down, you've got gaps, you've got these other areas to aim for. It puts into question this idea of consolidation, but then price slipped below Roaring Kitty's entry today and then pushed back above it. So, of course, post-market pricing, that's controlled by intra-trading between participants on the same app. You know, you're on Robinhood, you're trading with other Robinhood people. You're on IBKR, you're trading with other IBR people. And so this post-market pricing, it's not clear or useful when it comes to your technical analysis, but I am, and it can be every single day for you here talking about GameStop, which we cover very comprehensively, and I would put my analysis up against anyone. And I know that it's got a lot of help now from an amazing team of expert traders who are on the Discord with me at www.discord.gg/rockyoutcrop. They're in the chat box here, contributing and topping up my knowledge and pointing things out I might miss, so that when you get a comprehensive answer here, it's from lots of really good minds with lots of skill and the benefit of their experience, all for you. So check out the live show. Let's talk more about GameStop tomorrow and these huge potential moves if it does manage to break back up again. Because getting inside this symmetrical triangle, you'd be looking at it testing the top side of it. That means $40. If that breaks, $46.86. And you see that orange line? That's the equivalent of this orange line. And price, it was equidistant when we first drew those on, and we spoke about the potential for it to come down. Because if it was going to go back up again, then the best thing it does is it comes here first. That's a fake out area, no further. So you make it back in, soon you're coming to the downward sloping diagonal, you break out of that, and the measured move could be absolutely ridiculous. Now, this is one of the things we talk about every so often. It's definitely true from in here. It could potentially be true from in here. Let's say that we're not all completely bonkers, and drop that on the top side. If that break happens shortly, you might be looking at $110. And that's us not being completely bonkers. If we are completely bonkers, then you can look to the right of your screen there and say that number. I'm not even going to say, because it is absolutely crazy. And, you know, you guys, I don't know, man. You guys, if that's what you're trading for, you're absolutely mad in the head. I was speaking to the guy upstairs. He says, I'm fine because my targets make sense, but he doesn't know about you guys. So make sure you tune in to TraceBot Show. You'll catch all of these tips live. And with me, you can ask me your questions. I'll make sure I can tailor the advice to your particular style of trading and your capabilities and the money you have, the position you're already in or otherwise, and we'll try and make it work for you. Now, you cannot trade the X-axis, but I'll give you hints and tips about when might be the best place to enter and how to manage your trade, no matter the time horizon on it, no matter the instrument you're trading, or what it is you're looking to make from price. So tune in to TraceBot and on the regular, add me to your Monday milk. I can help you, and this community here is welcome you with open arms and lots of new friends, lots of good traders, lots of help for your trading. Thank you very much for watching. Hit the like button, ring the bell, subscribe, all that jazz. And you might get notifications if YouTube decides to send them out today or tomorrow or whenever. Thanks very much. See you in the next one. So I didn't have my wig. Off to buy potatoes, Karen. Good shout. You know, make sure you wash them properly. Give them a good rub. Give those potatoes a good rub. I could have talked about the Levi's and the Harley Davidsons. I probably should have. Maybe we'll get a clip. Maybe we'll get a clip of that from some clip genius. Though there's plenty of parts to the show you might want to clip. Plenty of other parts to other shows too. So if you really get into it, you know, have at it, guys. Have at it. You can make all the clips in the world. You feel like Christmas Day. Oh my gosh, another one. Yes, another one. Great clipping stream. Thank you very much, Luke Spears. Hopefully people think so. I'm not sure if I could be heard. I definitely raised the voice for it. Moonlander, great show today. Thank you very much, Moonlander. Appreciate having you here, there. And, you know, positive things said about you recently in Discord there. A lot of positive things. People chatting to each other about how much they appreciate you, mate. And as and when we see you again, we'll all look forward to it. Everybody talking about Jake. He's talking about Jake. And Wiki Wilkes. I'm also talking about Wiki Wilkes, but he knows exactly when I'm talking about him. I've seen it in the chat box. He calls it out. Clipathon. Let's get stuck into them clips, shall we? Larry will be on in how long now? Another 43 minutes. Holy shit, what's he even doing, eh? What are you even doing all day, Larry? He's on the board of 5 different companies. It's like, what sort of excuse is that? You know what I mean, Larry? What is that, Larry? Little blinkers. What did you ask me earlier? I wasn't able to answer properly. Jake from State Farm. Mr. Jake. The one and only Jake. Hey, good people here in the chat box. Appreciate all you guys. So I was planning on streaming Larry's thing. You know, do we stay on? Wait till he gets here? Doesn't seem like an intelligence decision. 189 folks, some of them off to get their potatoes and whatnot. And perhaps I should get up to other things in the meantime and then flip the stream back on and tune into what Larry's got to say. It isn't ostensibly about GameStop, and he's being interviewed by somebody from his own company, so they're going to be interested in asking questions that draw out answers that suit Larry's objectives, which will be to boost that company, understanding, the shareholders understanding, communicate with those people who are interested in it, not just shareholders, but all different stakeholders. And it isn't ostensibly about GameStop, so while it would be a popular thing to talk about and look to, and I definitely will think about it, it's up to you guys. Should we stream Larry's thing later? Shall we have a wee poll now and ask? I don't think I need to stay on to do it. I can't start a poll here. I'll just do it. I'll just do the stream for Larry. And in the meantime, I'll let you go and collect your potatoes, pick up your kids, and do all the things that you got to do before you get back here. Get your here with bells on, and we'll see what Larry has to say. I can't imagine it's a desperately long interview, so we'll cover it. What are the odds of him discussing GameStop in that venue? The geek. He's probably going to tell us that GameStop's going at $110. That's what he's probably going to tell us. GameStop's going at $110, and he'll probably say that it is financial advice, and he will probably recommend that you buy with your eyes closed using the market buy button. And he'll probably talk about how the option chain is for kids, and that, you know, you should only use it if you're extremely naive and young, because that's what it's designed for. He'll probably talk about how GameStop themselves are going to turn it into a sock company selling socks. They're going to do sock tradings and sock trade ups, and you got a good pair of socks, you could take them in there and get. It's what it's probably he's going to talk about. That and the option chain, and how everybody should just jump in with their eyes closed. And like also when you're on these brokerage apps, strong advice is to just constantly click, rub your hands around on the mouse pad, click, 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 click over and over and over. And if any warning signs or confirmation buttons come up, just slam return really, really quickly so that you don't have to read them. And that's, the financial advice we should likely expect from Larry's stream later today, right? GameStop, exactly. Can't sock, won't sock, GameStop. You heard it here first. Let's go, GameStop. Sounds about right. Thank you very much, Blinkers. We're sort of on the same page then. Cheers, Wiki. Look forward to back around Moonlander. Good shout out there. See? Positive messages from Jake. Good people, good at finding each other. Who is Larry? Steve Guzin. Larry Cheng is on the board of directors at GameStop. He's the co-founder of Volition Capital. He's Ryan Cohen's close confidant. He invested in Ryan Cohen and RC Ventures so that they could make Chewy from a startup to $1 billion business. He invested in GameStop with Ryan Cohen. They went in together. And together they are the leadership team with a couple of other people who actually work actively on the business. Larry's on 5 different boards, a lot of different jobs. So that's what we're thinking. Shut up and take my money, says Gek. I thought we were going to name it Banana. Why is it Sock now? Sock Banana. It's Sock Banana. I mean, Sock Banana, Sock Banana. I can only do so much at any one time, Blinkers, unfortunately. So when I have a spare couple of days, I'll make sure to speak to Larry and Ryan and tell them, guys, I thought we were going to rename this Banana. And we'll have a good, in-depth chat about that. And so there's a lot of things I'd like to be able to say on this show, which I'm not going to, because I also have the best interest of everybody at heart. It was put to me by somebody you would all know that maybe I can't say it. I didn't agree to it, but I can't say it anyway. And I didn't agree to do it, but I also agreed that I wouldn't do the thing they didn't want. So that's the way it is. Banana, yeah. Where are you, Banana? Yeah. Here we are. Anyway, so instead, what I did was I read Rocky's tweets out, which wasn't my idea. It was Rocky's idea. And so I read them out and achieved much the same purpose without being too explicit. And I think I did a really good job there. And I think it was really, really good role Rocky played in that. And I think together we managed to deliver the information in a very good way that I don't know how else it could have been done considering. So I think we did a great job. I think it was really helpful. And I know it will be if you pay attention to what we were talking about there with Larry Cheng's tweets. He knows the future of GameStop. He's told all of us what it'll be. Right, 169. That's a great place to end the show. Thank you very much, everybody who's checking in and hitting the like button. If you haven't done it, hit it now on the way out. I appreciate it. It helps the show. And it's great seeing everybody here. I know that often we'll have direct and we'll have direct conversations and we'll confront anything that might seem to be up or not completely smooth and working well. But that's with the objective of it eventually doing so. And people becoming better friends. You find strength in these moments when you might otherwise, all leave or fall out with each other, and instead you end up better friends, and the community itself grows stronger. And that sort of positive, welcoming, forgiving attitude that we all share with each other really boosts the community and makes it so that other people want to join, and makes it so that the people are here appreciate each other and stick around. It all helps all of us in terms of our short-term and goals and the longevity of what we're doing. And the longer we're around, the more damage we're going to do. We've done a serious amount of damage already, right? There's blood on the streets, and there's going to be more and more and more as we take these prices higher and higher and higher, which I know is going to happen. Not financial advice, but see you at $30. And I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching. See you then.